Tonight, the ultimate striker and the ultimate grappler collide in the ultimate matchup. Maurice Smith meets Mark the Hammer Coleman in the Ultimate Fighting Championships Showdown. Smith, the striker. Coleman, the grappler. Smith, quick and lethal. Coleman, strong and ferocious. Smith, the world kickboxing and extreme fighting champion. Coleman, the Ultimate Fighting Championships heavyweight champion, in a battle all about pride, power, and passion. The Ultimate Fighting Championships Showdown, plus the middleweight and heavyweight tournaments. Are you ready for the Ultimate Showdown? Let's open up the gates. The Octagon returns to Birmingham, Alabama. This cosmopolitan town in the heart of Dixie is proud of its role in the civil rights movement. A monument to Martin Luther King stands before the entrance to the famed Civil Rights Institute. Birmingham preserves the lushness of the South in Lynn Park. And the city embodies America's love affair with sports at Fryklund Field, the oldest baseball park in America, where Willie Mays once led the Black Barons to the 1948 Negro League Championship. Legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant is immortalized atop his famous slogan. Those words certainly apply to the athletes who've earned a place in tonight's tournament, UFC 14. Auditorium is alive. A sellout crowd of 4,800 has turned out at the oldest entertainment venue in Birmingham circa 1924. And tonight in the Magic City, it plays host to the original mixed match martial arts tournament, the UFC. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bruce Beck. Welcome to the Ultimate Fighting Championship 14 Showdown. Tonight, once again, we feature the double tournament and main event. The double tournament, middleweights and heavyweights. The main event, perhaps the best ever in the UFC, as Maurice Smith challenges Mark Coleman for the heavyweight title. It's a classic matchup of striker versus grappler. But there are some similarities between these two. Both are undefeated in freestyle competition. Both have tremendous wills to succeed, and both are passionate about the UFC. So tonight, the ultimate showmen square off, and the ultimate showdown, it's the UFC. My broadcast partner, the Olympic gold medalist, 1984 Greco-Roman wrestling super heavyweight division at the Olympics in Los Angeles, Jeff Blatnick. And Jeff, both fighters supremely confident something has to give.
Well, without a doubt, this is going to be a mammoth confrontation. Opposite styles in terms of discipline, but when you look at them, you're right, Bruce, they're airing an open confidence about their abilities, confidence in their training, confidence in the discipline that they train at, and confidence in their own athletic abilities. And we have a phrase in wrestling, where the head goes, the body follows, and certainly the head game starts the fight.
Tremendous talent, tremendous depth in our tournaments tonight.
Oh, without a doubt. Kevin Jackson, an Olympic champion in freestyle wrestling, is in the middleweight group, and so is Yuri Vaulin. This Russian has over 250 boxing matches, both amateur and professional. And of course, in the heavyweight category, you have Johnston and Horenstein coming back, both very tough customers, but both running into the likes of Coleman or Fry and have been defeated. But Mark Kerr, he is an elite wrestler. He trains with Mark Coleman. They both competed at the same weight class. As a matter of fact, Kerr being a little bit younger, he makes his debut also in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
All right, let's take a look at the brackets tonight and begin in the middleweight division. And there, in the first bout, the mauler, Yuri Vaulin, takes on the gorilla, Joe Moreira, and one of America's best in karate meets one of the USA's best in wrestling as Todd Butler battles Kevin Jackson. Now the field of four in the heavyweight tournament. Newcomer Mark Kerr squares off with UFC veteran Moti Horenstein. And then the bull, Daniel Bobish, hooks up with the Fury, two-time UFC semifinalist Brian Johnston. And then in the heavyweight championship bout, kickboxer extraordinaire Maurice Smith meets the undefeated UFC title holder Mark the Hammer Coleman. Well, the third member of our broadcast team, the star of NBC's hit show News Radio. He's a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. Let's check in with Joe Rogan.
How you doing, guys? I'm back here where the adrenaline is thick. The fighters are back here warming up, and it's very exciting. Everyone back here is really pumped up. The appearances of the first-timers, like the world-class wrestlers Kevin Jackson and Kerr, everyone's pumped up about that, and everyone's also excited about the return of Joe Moreira and the return of Johnston, and of course, everyone's pumped up about the super fight. It seems there's equal supporters on both sides. It's really going to be exciting, and I'm going to be back here interviewing the fighters as soon as they come out of the octagon, and I'm also going to be previewing the finals of each weight classes. If we need an alternate, I'm going to let you know who it is, and I'm going to let you know who's injured or what's going on and give you the mood of everything back here. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. Now, if a fighter who wins a bout is unable to continue in the tournament format, an alternate takes his place, and here's the results of the alternate bouts from earlier tonight. In the middleweight bout held earlier, Anthony Fryklund took care of Donnie Chappell in 1:35, sinking a choke and forcing a tap out. And in the heavyweight ranks, Alex Hunter bested Sam Fulton in 2:30 as the ref stopped the contest. Now, here are the ways to win a fight in the UFC. You can do it by knockout, by submission, if the corner throws in a towel, if the referee stops the contest because a fighter cannot intelligently defend himself, by disqualification, or if time expires, 3 judges render a decision. So we are set to go at Birmingham, Alabama at the Boutwell Municipal Auditorium. We open up with middleweights. And our first semifinal contest, Yuri Vaulin against Joe Moreira. And there's a good look at Yuri Vaulin. They call him the Mauler. Joe Moreira is the Gorilla. And here comes Yuri Vaulin. He's out of Latvia, now living in Brooklyn, New York. A former European boxing champion, 1992 New York State champion, a World Cup 1987 boxing champion.
Well, without a doubt, Vaulin there has tremendous boxing skills.
And he's got an uncanny combination of fists. And there's a look at Yuri Vaulin. He's a grappler. He's going after Joe Moreira, and he hopes to do it with a lot of feints tonight.
First of all, I will make a lot of false attack. He will all the time pay attention for his defense, not for the attack, because I will show different hands starting to attack, and it will be more busy to pay attention for defense himself to attack me.
Yuri Vaulin, one of the first Russian boxers to be permitted to fight in the U.S.
And certainly he brings all the skills a boxer would bring. Tremendous punching power, tremendous power in both hands. Has that knockout capability, so if he's able to catch you on the feet, he'll do well. But the problem he has, he's got absolutely no ground skill whatsoever. So look for him to try to keep distance, stay mobile, and throw lots of leather.
So Yuri Vaulin, the Mauler, making his debut in the octagon. He's had 273 fights in 17 years. And there's Joe Moreira, who lost to Paul Marlins in UFC 8, a unanimous decision in the quarterfinals. But the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist comes back tonight. Moreira believes in respecting your opponent. The master grappler says respect plus preparation will be the key to his success in tonight's fight with boxer Yuri Vaulin in the UFC in Birmingham.
I see two tough guys over there. I'm Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian guy too. Fight one from wrestling guy, American guy. I don't saw press about that, so I try to do my job over there. I train very hard for can come back and win for my home.
He's got an impressive resume, Jeff, but it all revolves around his work as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stylist.
So this is a matchup of opposites, a ground attack specialist against a striker who wants to stay on his feet, the boxer.
All right, we're ready for the introduction of the fighters. And right now, let's go up to the man in the octagon, our announcer, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham, Alabama, tonight, SEG Sports presents the only event of its kind, the only event where 10 of the world's best fighters will compete in the ultimate testing ground, the Octagon. Birmingham, Alabama, it's time to begin the Ultimate Fighting Championship! Our first bout begins our middleweight tournament. Standing to my left, hailing from Riga, Latvia, he's the 1986 and 87 European boxing champion, the 1992 WBO champion, standing 6'4" and weighing in at 197 pounds. Fighting out of Brooklyn, New York, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Yuri Vaulin! And his opponent from Rio de Janeiro, he's a 5-time Jiu-Jitsu champion of Brazil, a 3-time Jiu-Jitsu champion of South America, and a 2-time Pan Am Games champion in Judo. Fighting out of Huntington Beach, California, standing 5 feet, 11 inches tall, and weighing in at 199 pounds. Please welcome Joe Moreira! And when the action begins, our referee for the evening is Big John McCarthy!
John McCarthy from Camarillo, California, tactical instructor at the Los Angeles Police Academy. 10 years in the martial arts game. He's done over 100 no-rules fights, third man in the octagon, a big presence.
And he is good. He is very concerned for the safety of the fighters.
Moreira and Vaulin as we get going here in the UFC number 14.
And it's a question of distance. If he gets close enough to punch, Moreira's close enough to cinch, and that's exactly what happens.
He grabbed an ankle and he took down Yuri Vaulin.
Vaulin doing a pretty good job here, keeping his hips sliding, but Moreira should be able to cover the legs, get to a mount.
Moreira glad to be in a weight class after fighting Paul Varlins and giving away 105 pounds.
And in this kind of a game, it's a slow process. You gain inches at a time, but you do it confidently and patiently, and you eventually put yourself in a position where you can strike. And that's exactly what Moreira's doing. And with 30 years of experience, you can bet he knows the game very well through reaction and instinct, and that he'll take his time until he feels he's got Vaulin in a position where he can go ahead and hit.
And he never really got a chance to employ his attack in the fight against Varlins, but here he is at his best on the mat. Let's see what he can do against the Dolph Lundgren lookalike. Moreira, 5-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion and a 2-time Pan American Judo champion. And Moreira working on Vaulin. In close to the face, trying to score. Fighters required to wear gloves now, part of some of the new UFC rules changes, once again with safety in mind.
And there's no hair pulling, no strikes to the groin, and most importantly, no kicking when you're on the ground. You can kick on your feet, but no kicking on the ground.
Moreira continuing to work on Yuri Vaulin's face. Doesn't want to lose his leverage and balance, but trying to score whenever possible.
Without a doubt, and he's doing a pretty good job here, but Moreira definitely is just waiting and taking his time. Doesn't want to blow a lot of energy. He has another fight tonight. The winner has another fight tonight, and if he wins, he wants to have some energy. So he's taking his time and let Vaulin get arm weary by throwing all this leather that's really meaningless. It's not doing any damage, and it's not really helping him get out of his predicament.
Vaulin fears no one. He grew up on the hard-scrabble streets of Riga in Latvia.
You can see Moreira there with his ankles hooked around the legs of Vaulin. That's called a double grapevine in wrestling. And what it does is it effectively grounds out your opponent's hips, keeps them down on the ground. And if you keep his hips down, he's not going anywhere. He's grounded as well.
A couple of elbows landed by Joe Moreira. And Vaulin just hanging in there, trying to chop away whenever possible to Moreira's midsection.
The chops are never going to get him anywhere. What he needs to do is free his hips first before even thinking about throwing a punch. And by taking all of that energy and throwing it into wasteful punches, he will give Moreira opportunities.
12 minutes plus a 3-minute overtime if necessary in the semifinals and finals. Moreira with a short headbutt. Moreira trying to land, and Vaulin again just going back to the midsection. Moreira losing a little balance, but each time, Jeff, he secures his weight.
Yeah, as long as he's got that double grapevine locked in there, unless Vaulin can hit a supreme arch, a real high bridge on the back of his head and his feet, there's no way he's going to shake Vaulin here. No way in the world. He's got to do something about freeing up a leg and turning to his side and cause Moreira to adjust his balance, and as Moreira adjusts, you move again, and it's a game of give and take until the opening's created.
There's Alan Goes, the 8-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, the Pan American champion, the 5-time Brazilian Judo champion. He's the trainer of Joe Moreira and a heck of a fighter as well. We might see him in future UFCs.
So he'll see a little bit of training here with Joe Moreira.
Joe came to the States in '92 to teach with Helson Gracie after studying jiu-jitsu and judo in Brazil.
Now he had a chance there. It seemed that Vaulin had a body lock.
Oh, he's getting anxious now, landing a couple of elbows and a couple of right hands.
Quick, sharp combinations, and then he goes back to the rest phase. Smart tactic on top, classic Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Jeff doesn't want to tire himself out, but he wants to score.
He's scoring, and he's also forcing Vaulin to spend lots of needless energy on the bottom with those wasteful punches. Vaulin should be concentrating on his hips.
Moreira is glad it's Vaulin and not Vaulin.
That's correct. 100 and some odd pounds difference there.
Oh, there's a couple of shots to the face of Vaulin. So Moreira being very opportunistic and efficient.
That's the key word, is efficiency. Moreira being 35 years old, his experience tells him not to waste energy, and his body tells him he's got probably limited energy with the age of 35.
Couple of quick hands by Moreira and then a headbutt. So we're seeing a textbook exhibition here of riding and scoring.
Mounting and scoring would be a better way to say it. But you're right, it's the same as a ride in wrestling. Control the hips, keep them grounded, look for your opportunities, clear arms, get shots in.
Hey, you're the master of wrestling verbiage. Crowd is booing, but this is Joe Moreira's game. He's a jiu-jitsu specialist. This is where he excels on the mat, and he's not being lazy in any regard.
Now he's working. It's not the fastest pace we've seen people work at, but he gets his shots in, then he takes a rest, waits for the opportunity again, takes his shots. Really, it's Vaulin here who's really not doing anything except for those chopping punches, which is all the boxer knows. He does not have enough experience, it appears, at all to mount any kind of a counterattack to get off of the ground.
And you would think for the Brazilians, the longer the fight, the better chances that they win when they are that good in jiu-jitsu. Again, it's just a couple of punches to the midsection or the back of Moreira, and that's it for Yuri Vaulin on the bottom. A left hand got through by Moreira. That grapevine, Jeff, is a terrific anchor.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Vaulin cannot move as long as one of those legs is in, hooked around the ankle. He can turn one leg, but he can't get his hips away from being flat.
Almost
he can't
7
get to
minutes
his
in.
side. Yeah, 7-minute mark, and it's been all Moreira.
12-minute time limit, then there'll be a 3-minute overtime if needed. And if we have to, we'll have 3 judges score the competition. Can't pick a tie, you gotta go one way or the other, so you always have a winner.
You see Moreira being high in that ride, high in the mount. That keeps really Vaulin from being able to hit him with any kind of a punch. He's throwing punches over his own head, and how many times has he done that? Moreira raising up briefly, throwing a combination, a couple right hands, scoring, and then coming right back down, closing the distance. And again, he'll wait for an opportunity to strike.
Moreira started in the martial arts game at age 5. His older brother got him started, developed a passion for the art, which kept him off the harder streets of Rio. The only Gracie he's ever lost to is Hickson Gracie, who's a good friend of his. And he's fought a lot of Gracies over the years. And I'll tell you something, Jeff, if Moreira wins this bout, it's not going to help him in the final because he's expending a lot of energy here.
Well, he is out there for the duration, but as far as expending energy, no. He is in the top position. He's not having to carry any weight. His legs are locked, his knees are wide, so he's got a good base, so he's not really having to scramble at all. It's just a matter of how much energy he throws into those punches. He's been highly efficient. You said that word. That's exactly what this 35-year-old is accomplishing.
Are we seeing from Vaulin lack of a game plan or guts?
We're seeing from Vaulin lack of experience in ground attack, and that's purely based on the fact that this man has got 273 boxing matches. Incredible boxer, but it's not enough in a mixed martial arts competition, and he's finding that out the hard way here, spending the entire time on his back and the frustration of not being able to bring your strength to bear, the skills of punching.
So we're almost 9 minutes into this 12-minute period.
Vaulin needs to arch his back. He needs to go up on his head and try to literally buck Moreira off. Get some distance between the hips, and maybe then he can turn his hips and start a scramble where he might be able to get back to his feet. But as long as he lets his back lay there and Moreira keeps a single grape, at least one of those grapevines in, he is not going to be able to get off his back. He's going to have to continue to fight this kind of fight.
Well, Moreira is known for submissions, particularly arm bars, but he hasn't seen any opportunities, and Big John McCarthy is going to restart the fighters, and he's got that ability as the man in the octagon to restart if there's a lack of effort, a lack of movement by either of the fighters or by both, essentially, and that's what John's doing here. So it's a restart. Here's a chance for Vaulin. He's got to try to get a punch in on his feet.
Well, at this point, yeah, he's going to have to be careful now. Is he so tired and frustrated that he's just going to throw bombs and let Moreira get into him again? Or is he going to be patient, try to measure Moreira, hit some jabs, throw some combinations from the outside, and work hard to set him up, not look for just one big punch?
Well, let's see if the boxer can score. He's got to be opportunistic, but nope, there goes Moreira. Takes him down immediately, goes to the side mount.
And once again, the boxer forcing the issue, closing the distance for the grappler, led to that takedown.
You know, there's more of a sense of urgency here than in boxing. If you got to throw a punch, you got to do it quickly.
That's very much the truth when you have a mixed martial art competition. The ground attack neutralizes the standing attack.
And here we are. Have we been here before? Almost 12 minutes have expired, and if it is, we'll go to a 3-minute overtime. Another chance for Vaulin to restart from his feet.
About a minute and a half left before we reach that overtime.
Moreira with short little chops.
And that's been his trademark thus far. That is what has really been his main game plan, is to get quick, short punches in and then conserve energy and wait for the opportunity again. He really hasn't worked too hard to try to clear one of the arms so he can bring one of his best arms to bear in terms of raining punches down. Pass one of Vaulin's arms across his chest, lay on it, and then strike with the free hand.
The multitude of short punches are more a nuisance than anything else to the man on the bottom.
That is correct, and really the punches that Vaulin's throwing from the bottom against Moreira don't even add up to a nuisance. I look at them as more of a waste of energy because they're really not being used in any effective way to set up getting out of the bottom or set up trying to inflict some damage with the punch directly to Moreira's head.
Under a minute to go in this 12-minute time period. If it ends at the end of the 12-minute period with nothing in terms of submission or victory, we will go to a 3-minute overtime. And it's been this pattern from the beginning. Joe Moreira controlling, Yuri Vaulin on the bottom.
This is exactly what a Hoist Gracie would do. He would protect, he would wait for the opportunity, and then he would go ahead and launch his strikes. Moreira, classic Brazilian jiu-jitsu player, doing that very game plan.
Hoist set the standard by winning UFC 1, 2, and 4. Marco Ruas captured UFC 7 in Buffalo. And now we'll go to a 3-minute overtime.
All the way up.
Once again here, Vaulin will have an opportunity
Back to your corner.
to throw punches from his feet. And you could see Vaulin is clearly frustrated. Threw his arms up and threw his head in his corner, and he's wondering, how can I go ahead and fight this style? He is totally out of his element.
Okay, Yuri, слушай меня.
Moreira looks pretty good.
Moreira's doing enough. You're right, Bruce. He does look a little bit tired. That could be due to age. He's 35 years old to be in the fight game. That's pretty tough age. Kudos to George Foreman for being able to hang in there for so long.
You need a signal from...
So the two guys getting set for the 3-minute overtime period. On your left, Yuri Vaulin, and on your right, Joe Moreira. Second appearance in the UFC, first since UFC 8. People were disappointed. They thought Moreira had a great chance to win that tournament, but Paul Varladge changed all that in one quick bout.
And we are seeing that style, individual styles, mean so much and can be so effective that even on paper you can defeat a better fighter just because your style matches up well.
You know, some people said that Yuri Vaulin was the best boxer ever to enter the octagon. We just have
gentlemen,
not seen it.
You ready to go?
At this point,
You ready to go?
he
Let's
has
get
some
it
of
on.
the best
Come on.
credentials coming in as a boxer. But really, with the lack of any kind of cross-training, he's so vulnerable to that ground attack that he falls prey to it easily. He puts that right leg out so close to Moreira, and he's not throwing any punches behind it.
Vaulin. And there goes Moreira. Double leg, ended up grabbing just the one leg, and back he goes to the side mount. It's almost a repeat.
The effectiveness of takedown is better than good punching. Take that guy off the ground. Really punching, you got to take him out with one punch. Otherwise, one takedown, you're on the ground, you're eating fist from above.
But punching also means you got to throw it. You can't just hold it behind there and not fire.
And that's exactly what Vaulin did. He never really got off at any one of the 3 times he was on his feet. And now Moreira back in the double grapevine. He's going to be very content to stay here. Certainly on points, he has dominated this fight. He'd probably like to end it just to conserve some energy, but what I think we'll probably see him do is be content in his performance thus far and just ride Vaulin out and end the fight.
Todd Butler, Kevin Jackson just ahead as the middleweight tournament will continue. You've got to win 2 in one night to win the tournament. And it's all Joe Moreira. He's had 2,000 plus career fights. He says, this is my life. I want to fight.
Well, certainly anyone that thinks this is real violence, there hasn't been a whole lot of attrition at all in this position whatsoever. This is skill. This is the difference in disciplines being played out by these athletes. And in this particular scenario, the jiu-jitsu player is dominating the boxer.
Moreira looks up to Marco Ruas, Vitor Belfort, and Rickson Gracie. And following the classic Brazilian jiu-jitsu stylists of the past, should be on his way to winning a unanimous decision from our judges here tonight. 3 judges will render the decision.
Smart fight by Moreira. Very smart fight by Moreira. Didn't get overly aggressive. He's going to conserve some energy. He'll have some great time to be refreshed for his next fight. And best of all, he's very composed. He's not losing it. He doesn't feel he's had a bad performance. He knew what his abilities were, and he used them to the maximum potential that he could.
Well, that octagon has 750 square feet of space, 32 feet across. They didn't need much more than about 50 square feet of space for this one.
Well, really, I think Moreira could have had the opportunity to hold Vaulin in even a smaller space than that. So dominant are his grappling skills over the boxer.
Final seconds of overtime. And that is it. So it ends up at the time limit, 12 plus a 3 overtime. A chorus of boos from some of the fans here in Birmingham. Vaulin did what he wanted to accomplish, I guess, which was last the 15 minutes. And Moreira did what he wanted to do, which was win. And I'm sure it will come out that way. Michael D. Pasquale Jr., Jeff Mullen.
It's okay. You did a good job. You're a tough
Michael Flott will give the
tough man, buddy.
decision. Bruce Buffer, our Octagon announcer, will take us through the procedure where the judges render their choice. And to me, Jeff, this is a no-brainer.
Well, up to now, we haven't had many crazy decisions in the UFC where there was a close fight or a fight that we thought somebody dominated and it wasn't the decision we expected.
Let's go to Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, after overtime, we are forced to go to the judge's decision. We have a unanimous decision for the winner, Joe Moreira.
No surprise there. Alan Goes and company, they're happy. They're going to the finals. Manager Mark Hines, trainer Alan Goes, and the winner, Joe Moreira. He looks pretty good right now for 35. He needs to rest, though.
Well, Moreira will get a lot of time to rest, and he really didn't expend too much sprint energy in this fight. Vaulin, opportunity to punch, throws a punch, doesn't come close, but during that punch, Moreira able to close the distance, shoot on the leg, and knock Vaulin directly to his back. And this is where Vaulin spent the entire fight. Without any ground experience, he was subject to headbutts, short combinations by Moreira, but most of all just having to breathe into Moreira's chest because Moreira just stayed on top of him, held him down.
And there's the respect, which typifies UFC competition. So Joe Moreira comes back from a loss in the UFC prior. That was UFC 8, and now he's got a victory, and he'll take on the winner of our next bout, Todd Butler and Kevin Jackson. So Moreira will get a little bit of time to regroup. And there is our matchup. Butler, Okinawan Karate. Jackson, one of the premier wrestlers on the planet. Todd Butler from Kerwinsville, Pennsylvania. 32 years of age, his first UFC. The captain of the PKC U.S. Karate Team. 10 years in Okinawan Kempo. The babyface karate fighter, Butler likes to swarm over opponents, overwhelming them with kicks and punches.
I like to overwhelm my opponents, and I know in this style of fighting, you cannot go in with that mindset. You have to be able to recognize the opportunity to step back and the opportunity to step in. So you can't just go forward constantly. A lot of people take advantage of that, especially a grappler.
He has a reputation as one of the hardest hitters in freestyle martial arts for his weight. Okinawan Karate is his discipline.
He also has some matches in Muay Thai, as well as Vale Tudo, and even some amateur boxing. So, well-rounded fighter, considers himself a striker, even though he does have 10 years of high school and collegiate wrestling under his belt. So I would look to him instinctively to be able to counter takedowns, but not against the likes of a Kevin Jackson.
So Kevin Jackson, we've heard a lot about him, and now he makes his debut in the UFC. He won his weight class, 200 pounds and under in extreme fighting, defeating Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter John Lober. And now he moves to the UFC. Three-time national freestyle wrestling champion, world champion twice, and Olympic gold medalist. Jackson says his biggest adjustment to freestyle fighting is the change that he's got to take a punch, which will be a new experience for this talented Olympian.
I haven't been hit yet, and I think when I do get hit, it's going to be a surprise. I've been hit in practice, I've been hit training, but I don't know if you ever get used to being hit, or I don't know if you ever know if you can really take a punch until it actually happens. I've never had to.
I think he's just being honest, Jeff.
Well, without a doubt, you're not allowed to strike in the sport of wrestling, but I would definitely think Kevin, with his freestyle wrestling background, the fact that he is one of the world's best wrestlers at his weight class, Olympic champion, World Cup champion. Tremendous stamina, tremendous skill. His big thing is he has to add submissions and striking skills to his repertoire, arsenal of weapons, and he's been able to do that.
Tail of the tape for these fighters in the middleweight division, which means you must be under 200 pounds. It has brought the little man back to the UFC, and both guys tipping the scales at 199 pounds, and both are 32 years of age. Butler a little bit taller. It's Curwensville, Pennsylvania against Gilbert, Arizona, which is where Jackson fights out of. He was born in Highland Falls, New York, and he now lives in Lansing, Michigan. So we're set for the introduction of the fighters for our second middleweight semifinal of the evening. Back we go to Bruce Buffer.
Our second bout of the UFC 14 middleweight tournament begins with the fighter standing to my left. From Curwensville, Pennsylvania, a Vale Tudo World Tournament fighter, a former captain of the PKC United States Karate Team, and a kickboxer and Muay Thai fighter with a record of 6-0, all by first round knockouts. Standing 6'1" and weighing in at 199 pounds, please welcome to the octagon, Todd Butler! And his opponent, a 1992 Olympic gold medalist, the 1991 and 1995 world champion wrestler. He's the Pan Am Games champion for 1991 and 95, and a three-time national freestyle wrestling champion. He's from Lansing, Michigan, fighting out of Gilbert, Arizona, standing 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighing in at 199 pounds. Please welcome Kevin Jackson!
Well, this crowd is revved up for this one, and my advice would be don't blink.
Here we go.
Mark Coleman is in the corner of Kevin Jackson for this bout. Here we go. Jackson and Butler.
Well, if Butler is as good a striker as his credentials live up to, the question is going to be, once again, how does the grappler get inside the striker's punch to seize the legs and take down?
Jackson has his hands high. And Butler backing up a little bit.
Butler using motion, trying to draw the grappler to him. Pretty good tactic. A lot of times the strikers in the UFC have gone after the grappler, which I don't think has been as effective. Make the grappler come after you and read the movements and launch attacks, launch strikes.
Jackson showing a lot of patience. Butler up on his toes.
We're now in a clinch. Now Butler should have enough wrestling background to possibly fend Jackson off, or at least limit him enough to get some strikes in, but Jackson bull rushing him into the fence now. He has an underhook in. He'll look to pick up that near leg. Butler using that overhook like a wizard, doing a nice job of countering.
Jackson turns him over and starts landing some punches. Looked like a double leg, but it was explosive.
Now Butler's turning his back to him. Jackson should be going right for the throat.
Looking for the submission. And punches to the back of the head. John McCarthy steps in.
He tapped out.
He tapped out.
Butler tapped out.
I think McCarthy would have stopped it anyway.
Bad position for Butler. You turn your back, you can go for the choke. Jackson instead started punching directly to the back of the head. Butler tapped right out.
Kevin Jackson with an impressive debut. He's so quick.
Oh, he has tremendous speed, and what he did is he had Butler worried so much about upper body tactics in against the fence that Butler forgot about his legs, and you saw how quickly Jackson just reached down and ripped the legs right out from under Butler, and that just set up the end of the fight.
It wasn't a methodical takedown the way Joe Moreira's
at
were.
1 minute
no,
and
not
28 seconds, the winner is Kevin Jackson!
And Jackson has some fans, that's for sure. 129 submission And a subsequent tap out.
Jackson drove Butler into the fence. He has an underhook in there, and he was trying to maneuver in there, just dropping right down and ripping the legs out from under Butler. This isn't one where you try to tackle through him. It's just rip the legs right back towards the center.
It would have looked even cleaner
Butler
if the fence wasn't there.
Oh, without a doubt, he would have gone down very fast. And here Butler, for some reason, turns his back. And the instant Jackson gets that fist free, he's throwing punches down. Butler wanted nothing to do with it. Tapped out.
And after the tap, you saw John McCarthy bust right in there. He's rarely more than a split instant behind. And there's a look at your winner, Kevin Jackson, now wrestling with the Sunkist Kids. Runs his camps in Lansing, Michigan. Joe Rogan patrolling the backstage area looking for Kevin Jackson. Take it away, Joe.
Okay, I'm here right now with Kevin Jackson. Kevin, congratulations.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say hi to my wife and family in Arizona, my boys in Lansing, Michigan, and Arizona State, and thank you.
You showed a lot of patience in the beginning of the fight, but once you got a hold of him, it seemed like it was all you.
Well, you know, that's the game plan, to set them up, take them down, and submit them or get them out of there any way I can. I felt strong, I felt good, and hopefully it's going to carry out the next fight.
Now, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but everybody who knows anything about no rules fighting, it says you're the man at 200 pounds. How do you feel about that?
Well, I appreciate being known as a man. Hopefully I can go out there and make things happen to prove that I am the man. I feel confident, and I'm ready to roll.
Good luck in the finals. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Managed by Tony Holden, trained by Tim McCullough. Later tonight, we've got the heavyweight championship, and there is the man, Mark Coleman, undefeated in the octagon, defending his title against Maurice Smith.
Well, he certainly looks cool, calm, and collected. I think he's really prepared himself well for this. I think physically he's in top form. Obviously, mentally, he's very, very confident. Look for a great performance from Mark Coleman tonight.
Well, he's got a very tough challenger. His name is Maurice Smith, and Maurice is undefeated in reality combat competition. Let's find out more about the man they call Maurice. For Maurice Smith, the first trip to the octagon is hardly his first encounter with the world of freestyle martial arts and tough opponents. In 1996, Smith became the ISKA kickboxing champion, and that same year entered Extreme Fighting, his first freestyle martial arts tournament. Smith, who was then an unknown in the world of freestyle martial arts, quickly made a name for himself. He defeated a heavily favored Conan Silveira, the Carlson Gracie disciple and master of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to become Extreme Fighting's last heavyweight champion. At 6'2", 220 pounds, Maurice Smith is an extraordinary athlete, always in shape, always staying fit. His daily workouts would make a lesser athlete quit. He begins by running flights of stairs in the local stadium. The cardiovascular part of the workout starts in earnest as Smith continues to run, swim, and spar his way to world-class condition. Then comes strength training and more sparring at his gym, the Maurice Smith Kickboxing Center in Bellevue, Washington. Smith may very well be the best conditioned athlete in freestyle martial arts. Yet the physical side is not the most important part of the fight game, according to Maurice Smith. Asked what attributes a champion must need, Smith replied, a good heart and good smarts. To Maurice Smith, courage and tenacity coupled with ring savvy, the ability to think on your feet or on your back, are the keys to success in this sport. Smith, who's been called the thinking man's gladiator, uses his insight to shape a strategy tailored to every opponent he meets. For this fight with Mark Coleman, Smith says he plans to keep this fight on its feet. But if it goes to the ground, he's prepared to do battle with the champion wrestler and still come out victorious.
Coleman's like any other guy's a fighter, and he has one objective, just to grab me and wrestle me. That's it. Get me to the ground and punch me. I know that. I've learned his game. He has to learn my game to compete with me.
Coleman, according to Smith, is a one-dimensional fighter. Smith says all Coleman knows is how to ground and pound. Although he respects Coleman's strength, Smith believes he can out-finesse the current UFC champion and take his belt. With a professional kickboxing record of 48 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws, with 35 wins coming by knockout, Smith is someone who speaks from experience. If history repeats itself, Smith may very well emerge with Coleman's title. The kickboxing champ has never lost a championship fight. One thing is for certain, this championship bout promises to be a battle of wits as well as brawn. And the only thing for sure is the excitement. Maurice Smith looks like a gladiator to me.
Oh, he certainly does, and I really like Maurice. He'll joke about it. Me coming from a grappling wrestling background, he always likes to dig a little bit and give some shots because I'm always talking about the wrestling end of it, and I really respect what he has to say. The big question is going to be, is all that confidence, all that training going to hold up against the big grappler?
Well, we change our focus now. We go from middleweights to heavyweights. Joe Moreira, Kevin Jackson are into the finals of the middleweight tournament, and now we get to the big boys. Mark Kerr making his debut against Moti Horenstein, who is making his second appearance in the octagon, losing only to Mark Coleman. And here comes 255-pound Mark Kerr, a former Division I NCAA champion at Syracuse University. Mark Kerr, second in the 95 Pan Am Games. He's a World Cup wrestling champion. He says his sport has taught him to handle fear. In his octagon debut, the Smashing Machine believes the psychological edge is his.
I say it's like the difference between a flashlight and a laser beam. You know, a flashlight just spreads out all over the room, and a laser beam's really focused. So you need to take all your emotions and everything, kind of pinpoint them like a laser beam, and really be concentrated on what you're doing. Because if you don't have them in check and you let fear or anxiety get the better of you, it just zaps you.
Máquina de Bater, the Smashing Machine.
Well, the Brazilians nicknamed him that after his Vale Tudo performance, in which defeated several good UFC people like Paul Varlins and Fabio Gurgel. And Kerr, tremendous wrestler, great ground skills. He was an NCAA champion. He was an elite international wrestler for the United States. Look for him to try to bring it down to the ground.
His opponent is Moti Horenstein, whose discipline is survival, the 96 and 97 Team USA Shidokan champion in the heavyweight division. First place at the Masoyama International Tournament in 95 in Rochester. He served 3 years in the Israeli military, worked with the Special Forces, and he taught self-defense. Started martial arts at the age of 5. Karate champion Moti Horenstein faced a then unknown wrestler named Mark Coleman in both fighters' first trip to the octagon. Horenstein says he's now ready to beat the wrestler.
After your first time, you're comfortable in this fight. So it was my first time with Coleman, and I felt kind of okay in the fight, but not really. I was all exciting about it and everything. This time I'm coming, I'm relaxed more. I work harder on ground, and I'm really ready for anything.
And Jeff, whatever the competition in freestyle martial arts, this man is always there as a quality challenger.
Oh, without a doubt, his background is in karate, but he calls his style survival. He's an excellent kicker, great striking ability, good puncher, but once again, against the master grappler, he's had a problem on the ground, and that's where Coleman beat him. Look for Kerr to try to apply that same strategy, but the difference is Horenstein now has the experience of the octagon, and we've seen what experience does for a fighter.
Tale of the tape for this first heavyweight semifinal. Horenstein, 3 years older than Kerr. Kerr is the heavier of the two fighters, and we've had differentials in his weight of up to 30 pounds. Michael Buffer will do the formal introduction. I'm sorry, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the big men as we begin our heavyweight tournament. Standing to my left, he's the winner of the 1994 World Cup Wrestling Championship, the winner of the Men's Freestyle National Championship, an NCAA Division I champion. He stands 6'1" and weighs in at 255 pounds. He's fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona. Please welcome in his octagon debut, Mark Kerr. And his opponent, hailing from Ra'anana, Israel, and fighting out of Spring Valley, New York. He's the winner of the 1996 and 1997 Showdown Heavyweight Championship, the former kickboxing champion of Israel. He is also a winner of the Masoyama International Tournament. Please welcome at 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighing in at 217 pounds, Moti Horenstein.
So can Horenstein survive against Mark Kerr? Big John McCarthy, third man in the octagon.
Are you ready?
Working his 14th UFC.
Well, here we go. Horenstein, also a Showdown champion of America in 96 and 97. He stayed active. I'm sure he took the lessons from the Mark Coleman match and came back more prepared. But he said Coleman schooled him. He felt like he was in kindergarten out there because he was caught up in the event, not in the fighting.
And he's got a great kick, an axe kick, which can be deadly if he can score.
There's the double leg. Fast double leg, closed that distance rapidly, sees the legs and is now past the guard to the side. His one leg is still hung up. He's got it out. He's clear to the side.
He's got the side mount, and this is where Mark Kerr excels on the mat. 97 World Vale Tudo champion in São Paulo, Brazil. He beat Paul Varlins, among others, in that tournament. There's a knee. Oh, a couple of big knees. And a couple of right hands.
Horenstein wants to stay in the guard.
It's a powerful Mark Kerr.
I have no doubt who's the most powerful athlete here. Kerr certainly has the size, and if you look at the muscle piled onto that body, certainly the power.
Okay, stay like this, stay like this.
Horenstein, to his credit, was launching some good knees into Kerr's side. That's when Kerr erupted, and some knees of his own.
And he was fortunate to roll onto his side rather than onto his back. We've seen that be very negative throughout the UFC. Let's listen into the corner. And Kerr with a right hand and another right hand.
Oh, Horenstein's in trouble here. Took some punishment there. He's unable to stop Kerr. He's not hanging on to Kerr's head to try to keep the grappler from raising up and then striking.
Kerr is managed and trained by Mark Coleman, and he's showing a lot of Coleman. Boy, he can punch. Again, a couple of blows, and McCarthy steps in because Moti Horenstein was basically defenseless.
The ground and pound attack of the grappler overwhelmed the striker, Moti Horenstein. Kerr, tremendous double leg takedown, some good knees, and then once he got to that mount position, Horenstein had no way of stopping the punches from coming in.
At 2 minutes and 23 seconds, Mark Kerr!
I'll tell you, Jeff, he showed some pretty good punching skills, much more than when Mark Coleman first entered the octagon.
Oh, I really believe that Mark Kerr believes that to be a great fighter, you have to be well-rounded in all skills. Coleman, the elite wrestler, still competing or still wanting to compete in wrestling, has kept to his discipline, but he too has showed signs that he wants to open up and learn some submission and some more striking.
Well, he's been touted as Mark Coleman plus. Coleman's skills and ferocity coupled with good leg kicks and terrific submissions.
Well, he certainly can close the distance with a double leg takedown. Look at how fast he's in there. Good head position. Moti had no time to go to a guillotine choke, even though Kerr's head appeared to be vulnerable for a second there. But then once on his back, he wasn't able to keep Kerr from raising up, getting space to launch those kinds of strikes. And despite his efforts gallantly to avoid the strikes, Kerr was able to just keep raining him down, and there, the honor after the fight.
So another wrestler that does extremely well, Joe Rogan with Mark Kerr.
I'm here. With Mark Kerr. Mark, congratulations. Looks like you took your time in the beginning in a beautiful double leg, and then from there it was all you.
Yeah, I just, you know, going out there, I knew I had to get him off his feet. So, getting down on the ground so I can control him. It's all good.
What did you think about him wearing a gi into the bout?
It's kind of confusing. I'm not sure why you do it, but, you know, his discipline is sometimes he does wear a gi, so maybe he's a little more comfortable.
Well, congratulations on a very successful performance, and good luck in the finals.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Also, we have late-breaking news right now. Joe Moreira is not going to be able to continue. Dr. Istrigo has checked him out, and there's something wrong with him, and we're going to find out what that is later. But he's not going to be able to fight in the finals, so we're going to have to go to an alternate.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe Rogan. So Moreira will be out of the championship bout in the middleweight division. And it will be Fryklund because of his victory earlier over Chappell, and that was why the alternates battle. Fryklund won in 1:35 on a tap-out choke, and he was victorious over Donnie Chappell. So Anthony Fryklund, the jiu-jitsu and kickboxer, moves in, replacing Joe Moreira, and he'll be taking on Kevin Jackson in the final.
And I really think Fryklund's the real deal. I think he's going to bring a lot into the octagon to challenge Kevin Jackson. He certainly showed that he's a warrior. He likes to go down to the ground, as Jackson does, and he's well-versed in jiu-jitsu, which means he knows the guard, which may present Kevin Jackson, if he does get a takedown, a little bit more of a problem on how to pass it.
I was impressed with him earlier tonight as well. Well, look at some of the people in attendance tonight. A sellout crowd. We've got some nice octagon ladies as well. And our super bout coming up later. It's for the heavyweight championship in the UFC. And it's Maurice Smith against Mark Coleman. And this is a classic confrontation of striker versus grappler.
Oh, without a doubt. And he's a smaller guy. Smith about 220. Coleman more along the ground lines of 255 pounds. So it's a big guy against a smaller guy. Somebody who wants to stay on the feet versus someone who wants to take it down to the ground. Extreme versus UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship. And it's really a unification bout. I look for that to be an outstanding fight and a real test for both athletes.
And they both have strong feelings on the other. There have been some comments made over the last couple months that Coleman, for one, hasn't taken particularly well. It was Maurice talking about Mark's punching style. Let's listen into what Maurice Smith had to say about Mark Coleman entering tonight's matchup.
For the most part, it's just stick and move, jab, jab, not too many overhand rights, not necessarily, because all you want to do is he'll time it, he'll try to draw me in, and then make a move as I keep coming in. So I know what his plan is, real simple. You know, so I'm just going to mostly just jab, jab, stick and move. It may look boring to the crowd for a while, but then when he gets tired, watch the fireworks begin. Watch the explosion in my face. Watch the intensity in my eyes. Just watch me.
I think the comment that really irked Coleman, though, was that Mark hits like a girl. Is that true? He punches like a girl?
Well, I would tend to think that if you really look at this situation, like any big confrontation, there's a lot of hype before. Things get said that can get blown out of proportion. And thing called mind games.
Oh, yeah.
And you might think that that was just a little mental challenge, a little mental burr for Mark Coleman to deal with. You know, perhaps Maurice Smith wants to get Mark Coleman emotional and take him out of his game plan.
Well, here's Mark Coleman with his chance to respond to what he thinks of Maurice Smith and his style.
I haven't changed much at all. I've been intense from the beginning, and I just get more confident as I win more fights, and I think confidence is the key. When a guy grabs onto me for the first time, I think it puts a little fear into him because I do feel I'm a very powerful man. He had to be very lucky to knock me out, and I don't believe in luck. There's a lot of skill involved out there, and I don't think he can handle my ground skills, so I basically feel like I'm going to win this fight.
You know, the interesting thing about Coleman, he really talks about himself rather than his opponent.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think he internalizes everything. He takes things personally. Even though they may not be intended that way, he is an individual who really focuses down, gets it down to his one goal, and he lives to conquer that goal.
Well, it's called Showdown, and for good reason. It's coming up later, the heavyweight championship of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Maurice Smith and Mark Coleman. But we've got some other business before that. And up next, our second semifinal in the heavyweight division. It'll be Daniel Bobish against Brian Johnston. And plenty of fury in this one. Daniel Bobish is big. A lot of the guys here this week were impressed with his size. They said he is a big customer.
Well, they call him a bull for the reason. Take a look at the width of those shoulders and the thickness of that chest.
The 1992 NCAA wrestling champion in Division III. And for gargantuan grappler Daniel Bobish, the key to a successful fight lies in one word: versatility. The big man is strong, quick, and agile.
He kicks, take him down. I can stand on my feet and strike. When you kick, it's hard to throw a punch. You're off balance. But I've been working on my kicks also. So with being able to wear the wrestling shoes and kick, I'm looking forward to maybe throwing a few kicks myself.
Hey, he recently beat Dave Beneteau in a Brazilian Valley Tudo bout, and Dave, of course, has done well in the UFC. Here's his discipline, wrestling.
Well, Bobish would have to be classified as a grappler, obviously a Division III national champion, good at wrestling, so he's going to have fundamental skills at taking people off their feet, but he also works hard at striking, and with that kind of size, that kind of power, you don't want to get hit by any of those punches. On the ground, I question how much he's been in the guard and how much he knows about submission fighting, but this man's package is ground him and punch.
They call him Tank Abbott with far greater strength and skills. Brian Johnston, now a blonde, set to return to the octagon. A semifinalist in UFC 10 and 11. 2 and 3 in the UFC, but he's lost to some real good ones. Brian Johnston, a UFC veteran, anticipates a ground game in his bout with Bobish. Johnston plans to outspeed his stronger opponent and steal the match.
Bobish will probably want to take me down. He may stand and strike with me, but if I were him, I would be thinking take him down. So you'll probably see striking from me. He can't match my speed, and I can't match his strength. So it should be fun, and it should be interesting.
Jeff, he's lost to Don Fry, Mark Coleman, and Ken Shamrock. Wow.
Now, certainly he has fought the very best the UFC has to offer. His background is in boxing and in judo. He was a Golden Gloves champion in Northern California. He's worked hard with his judo to try to improve his ground skills, and he's also got tremendous kicks. Good puncher, good striker. Look for him to try to keep it on the feet and use those weapons to try to earn victory.
Well, this is an interesting one in terms of weight because Bobish has the huge advantage. He's tipping the scales at 310 pounds. Johnston is taller, but he's got to make up for that weight. 78 pounds difference. Bruce Buffer is standing by to tell us more about these fighters.
Our second bout in our heavyweight tournament for the evening begins with the fighter standing to my left. He comes to us to make his octagon debut. He's a 3-time All-American wrestler, a 1992 National Wrestling Champion, and a shoot fighter fighting under the Bart Valley organization. He stands 6 feet 1 inch tall and weighs in at 310 pounds. Please welcome from Cleveland, Ohio, Daniel a 1996 Golden Gloves champion. He's a kickboxer with a record of 12-0. He's a semifinalist in UFC 10 and UFC 11. He's a black belt in the art of jiu-jitsu, coming to us from San Jose, California, standing 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighing in at 232 pounds. Please welcome, in his return to the octagon, Brian Johnston!
And it is a slim down Brian Johnston.
Well, I'll tell you, I look at this as one big question. Bobish was cut from the Cleveland Browns in one of the final cuts at their training camp. So he nearly became a professional football player. But that tends to be geared towards sprint work. If Johnston can hang on, where will Bobish's conditioning level be 5 minutes into the fight.
And both are landing some blows. Right hand by Bobish. Just missed, but he backed up Johnston. And now they get into a clinch along the fence.
Well, it seemed that Johnston didn't want to strike anymore. They were both throwing heavy leather.
Right hand by Johnston. A right hand by Bobish. Not textbook style, but both guys scored.
Well, Johnston's throwing real heavy leather instead of jabbing and moving, possibly trying to wear Bobish out.
Bobish tried to pick him up, finally turned him over.
Get your position.
He's pushed up against the fence. Johnston's going to have all kinds of problems trying to move in that guard position.
Come on, that's it. That's it. Keep right there. Keep the position. Keep the position.
Johnston's head is up against the chain link fence.
Get your hands inside. Headbutt. Work inside. There.
This takes a lot of energy. Bobish is up on his toes, so he's carrying his own weight.
Keep your head in there, Danny.
And that's 300 plus pounds.
Question's going to be, can he have the endurance?
Johnston's got good quickness. He may try to make a move, but he's got to somehow get rid of that weight.
Well, he's covered up. He's not getting really hit with any of that.
But I'm saying it's tough weight to reverse.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, he's not in a good position here to try to escape because he's limited in one direction. And that's right into the power of Bobish, straight back into him. So he really can't move. He's going to have to wait for Bobish to get too high or throw too big of a punch and have a follow-through, and there's where you go ahead and let that momentum go by you, and then you start to scramble to try to get back to your feet.
Jeff, it's clear that Bobish is a nose tackle.
Yeah, well, right now it certainly seems that way. He's sticking his head right in there. I mean, these two guys are practically looking into each other's eyes right here.
And there's a tap out. I believe Brian Johnston tapped out.
His head was sideways, the forearm of Bobish up against the throat. He might have been choking him. Might have been a side choke. Literally by leaning pressure alone.
Bobish was just too big of a man for Johnston, who trimmed down in an effort to be better in the octagon. But he was up there against a monster. Here's Bruce Buffer.
We have a winner by tap out at 2 minutes and 11 seconds. And the winner is Daniel Bobish.
I'll tell you, it's going to be one heck of a final. Two big men, Bobish and Kerr. And if you thought Kerr was big, he's going to be small compared to Bobish. Now, this is what the UFC is all about, talking about what you did, what I did wrong.
The two fighters talking quite a long time, and they're sort of telling each other what they were doing. And
you see that at the end of chess matches. It's unbelievable to see participants go over what they did.
I think that's where a lot of the negativism comes out about the UFC, is they look at it purely from a physical standpoint, and it's much more than that. It's a big mental game on how to get in, how to close distance, and how to bring your skills to bear, particularly against this elite an athlete. But it was right in here in which Bobish puts that forearm, you can see it there, across the neck of Johnston, and he'll continue to lean on it, and all that pressure with the 310 pounds in addition to that, leaning in on the side of the neck of Johnston there, you can see where his neck is kinked, was enough to start to cut the air or a blood choke and lead to the tap out.
And here's the end of the fight. See if we can see the tap out. There it is.
Right there on the back of Bobish. You could clearly see Johnston's hand.
And the celebration by Daniel Bobish, kind of a composed celebration, knowing that he's got some work ahead. But I thought that was a marvelous moment when we saw the two athletes discussing what they did, similar to Gary Kasparov's and Vishy Anand after a major chess match.
Oh, without a doubt, that's exactly what this game is. It's a mental game. You better have done the physical work to be prepared to carry out that mental chess match in the octagon.
Here's Joe Rogan backstage.
I'm here with the winner, Dan Bobish. Dan, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Even though you're a wrestler by discipline, you started off, and I think you probably fooled him a little bit because you came out striking.
If you see me fight before, I do strike a lot.
How do you feel going into the finals now? Did that wear on you at all, or do you feel confident?
I feel pretty good. I'm ready.
Well, congratulations. Very impressive performance, and good luck in the finals.
Thank you.
So Daniel Bobish is into the finals against Mark Kerr. And I'm looking forward to that one. I hope you are at home.
I am. That's going to be one great fight. Two good wrestlers. Both of them really large, 250 pounds, the other 310.
Time for a UFC flashback. We go to UFC 10, and what a matchup it was.
And here's where the power comes in.
Pick up by Coleman. Look out! Look at his power, but Fry ran down to the fence, and Coleman ran into a punch. Oh! Right hand by Coleman. Another!
What a battle! What a battle!
In his UFC debut, Mark the Hammer Coleman defeated Don Fry for the UFC 10 championship. It lasted 11 minutes and 36 seconds.
To this date, that has been the toughest performance for Mark Coleman.
And Mark Coleman has been nothing short of sensational since he entered the UFC right here in Birmingham, Alabama. He is ferocious in the octagon, Mark Coleman. In Mark Coleman, Maurice Smith has found his polar opposite. The Olympic wrestler is a two-time gold medalist at the Pan Am Games, who represented the United States at the Olympics. Wrestling's plethora of rules were a hindrance to the warrior in Coleman. Although he loves his sport, he says the UFC's freestyle approach to fighting is tailor-made for him. He's certainly shown that he relishes the battle, and few fighters are better equipped for it than Mark Coleman. His power and intensity are already legendary. In fact, almost as soon as he burst on the freestyle fight scene with his first appearance in UFC 10, it was clear that Mark Coleman was headed for greatness.
When I step in the ring, I don't think about anything but winning. That is the main goal. That's the only goal. Anything less would be devastating to me.
Shunning the intricate submissions of jiu-jitsu and pancrase, Coleman has proven that a world-class wrestler can conquer all comers and rule the octagon. Of course, Coleman not only brings wrestling skills to the UFC, this immensely powerful grappler has learned how to strike, and Coleman's fists are now among the most feared weapons in the octagon.
I don't think a choke or an armbar is going to be the way to finish the fight off because he's familiar with it, I'm familiar with it. I think it's going to come down to punching and striking.
In his first fight ever in the UFC, Coleman punched and grappled his way to a quick victory over Moti Horenstein. Coleman advanced to the semifinals, where he met Gary Big Daddy Goodrich. The Olympic wrestler overwhelmed the UFC veteran and earned the right to challenge Don the Predator Fry for the title. Don Fry is a multifaceted fighter and a formidable champion, no matter who the opponent or how long the odds. The Predator has always found a way to win, but in his match with Coleman, Fry's winning streak was brought to a dramatic close. In one of the UFC's most memorable battles, Fry used every tool he had to defend his title, but Coleman dominated, trading fearsome shots, and at one point, lifting Fry up and treating him like a doll's house in a tornado. In the end, the wrestler's skill and power proved to be decisive, and Coleman emerged as the new UFC champion. It was up to him to prove that his success was no fluke, and prove he did. In UFC 11, an even bigger, stronger, more accomplished Coleman returned to the octagon to defend his title. He handily dispatched challenger Julian Sanchez. The next challenger was Brian Johnston, a stand-up fighter who managed to get off a few leg kicks before the champion decided it was time to impose his will. Coleman took Johnston to the ground and out of the fight. Once he was in the Hammer's clutches, Johnston quickly became defenseless. With no other opponent able or willing to meet him, Coleman retained his title in UFC 11. His next challenge looked like it would be his toughest. In UFC 12, Judgment Day, Coleman met the Beast Dan Severn in the super fight.
Severn is a world-class wrestler himself and a former UFC heavyweight champion who was looking to regain the title. Even Coleman admitted that as far as wrestling skills are concerned, he and the Beast were evenly matched. Many believe that Severn would deal Coleman his first defeat in the octagon and regain the title. That was not how things turned out. Coleman had underestimated himself. He took Dan the Beast Severn to the mat, put the former champion on his back, and quickly gained a victory by submission when Severn tapped out. The Hammer had tamed the Beast and earned a place as one of the greatest freestyle fighters on the planet in the process. Mark Coleman has every intention of keeping that title. He says he'll make sure his record stays unblemished. He believes he's simply too good a wrestler and too powerful a puncher to lose to challenger Maurice Smith. Neither man has ever lost a championship bout. This will be the match that shows the world who truly is the greatest freestyle fighter on the planet. Two champions battle it out in the octagon, the fight laboratory where there's no room for mistakes, the ultimate test of skill, of style, and combatant, as Mark Coleman and Maurice Smith get it on. Showdown! And so Mark Coleman with an ultimate test tonight against Maurice Smith.
Ever since Coleman came in here, he's left a mark of ferocity. He even says, Bruce, you were the first one to say he's the most ferocious athlete in the UFC, and he feeds off of that. Much like the Beast in Dan Severn, that is what Coleman feeds off of, is the frenzy of the crowd and the competition in the octagon.
Let's get an update right now with Joe Rogan. Joe?
Guys, I'm back here with a very disappointed Joe Moreira. Joe and his training partner, Alan Goez, World Jiu-Jitsu champion. Joe, you wanted to continue, but the doctor wouldn't let you. What was the problem?
I don't know. He said I have some concussion in my head.
A concussion?
Yeah.
What do you think that occurred from?
I can feel nothing. I feel ready for fight. I don't know what the doctor say about that.
Can we look forward to seeing you in future UFCs now?
Anyone within my weight. Vaulin, maybe Kevin Jackson. He's a pretty good fighter. We have one guy, pretty good fighter for me.
Well, it's very disappointing that you had to bow out of it this way, but we'll look forward to seeing you in the future and possibly look forward to seeing you, Alan Goez.
Yeah. That's for sure. I'm gonna be here. Have UFC, one of the best organizations at the moment here, and I'm waiting for the opportunity, and I'm gonna be here, knock the gun to fight.
Okay, well, good luck to the both of you. Good luck in the future.
My wife in the level right now, I like to say, congratulations, sweetheart. I make this fight for you. I'll be back soon home. Bye.
A new father, Joe Moreira, congratulating his wife. Back to you guys.
So Joe Moreira is out, a concussion. He was looked at in the triage center, which every fighter has to go to immediately following his bout. And Dr. Richard Istrigo and company did not clear him medically to continue. Therefore, Anthony Fryklund will be moving on to take his place. And let's find out how it happened. So we'll go back to our alternate bout in the middleweight division, which was held earlier this evening. Boutwell Municipal Auditorium, the magic city of Birmingham, Alabama, once called the Pittsburgh of the South. And we are getting set for our first alternate bout of the evening. Very important in UFC style competition because an alternate can advance in the main draw. We open up with middleweights. Donnie Chappell taking on Anthony Fryklund. Two gentlemen making their octagon debut, and they do it as middleweights. Chappell at 180 and Fryklund at 186 pounds. Donnie Chappell, he's the hometown guy from Hartselle, Alabama. 29 years of age. The Alabama light heavyweight champion in kickboxing. A young man who trains 5-6 hours a day. Hometown boy Donnie Chappell. And he plans tonight to put Southern hospitality aside in the octagon and be the first guy to throw a punch in the battle of wills here at the UFC. Here's Chappell's comments regarding tonight.
I would like to be the first one to make contact in the fight. I would like to land strikes on the person before he can hit me or establish his game plan.
Our second fighter just walking in is Anthony Fryklund, who hopes to make his octagon debut a good one. He hails from the East, born in Boston, Massachusetts. His home now is Rockland County, New York. Pretty good in both jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Started kickboxing at age 11. Jeff, let's go back to Donnie Chappell and his discipline.
He is a powerful striker, and that is what he's going to try to bring to bear, coming from Taekwondo and being a kickboxer. Quick hands and feet, not much ground experience, so he's going to have few submissions. And really, the question will be, can he defend himself if he ends up on the ground? How knowledgeable is he of the guard? And that is so important in the UFC. Anthony Fryklund, as I mentioned, also making his debut in the octagon, a record of 11-2-1 in amateur kickboxing. And Jeff, here's a look at some of his tools. Well, he has a jiu-jitsu background, which means he is more familiar with the ground. But it's interesting, his style of jiu-jitsu incorporates more strikes than Brazilian jiu-jitsu or traditional jiu-jitsu. So he has good submissions, but he loves to strike. And what he wants to do is hit you on the feet, render you immobile, and then slap a submission on you. All right, here's a look at the tail of the tape. 29 years of age is Chappell. Fryklund is 26. Fryklund, the heavier of the two by 8 pounds. Not much difference in height, and it's the local product against the East Coast kid. Bruce Buffer with the formal introduction of the fighters.
Let's begin the evening with the first of our alternate bouts, beginning with the fighter standing to my left, hailing from Hartselle, Alabama, standing 5'11" and weighing in at 178 pounds, the light heavyweight kickboxing champion of Georgia and a black belt in Tang Soo Do and Taekwondo. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Donnie Chappell! And his opponent from Boston, Massachusetts, and fighting out of Yoshitsune Dojo in Riverdale, New Jersey, a black belt in Shodokan Karate, American Karate, and Yoshitsune Jiu-Jitsu, with a record of 11-2-1 in amateur competition. He stands 5'10" and weighs in at 186 pounds. Please welcome Anthony Fryklund. When the action begins, our referee is Joe Hamilton.
And Joe Hamilton working his 9th UFC. He is from Provo, Utah, full-time firefighter and paramedic, formerly with the LAPD for 9 years. So we are set to go. And Jeff, this is always that anxious moment for two first-time UFCers. And certainly they both come in really toting their striking skills, but certainly Anthony Fryklund with his jiu-jitsu background should be pretty good at taking people down, and that's exactly what he's going to do right away. A good move by Fryklund, takes down Chappell right away and goes to work. He's actually past the guard right now. He's got a side mount. Looking to retrieve his right arm. And he's now in a full mount, and he's got him pushed up against the fence, so really at this point Chappell has nowhere to go. A couple good body blows landed there by Anthony Fryklund. A couple more. Oh, and Chappell comes back, punching from the ground, and it's not all that effective, but answering is Anthony Fryklund with a reigning right hand. Chappell doing a pretty good job here of changing levels and making Fryklund move up and down, and then he gets the chance to grab onto the upper body and hold him close, not giving him any space to throw punches. Fryklund in the mount and trying to take advantage of it. Up against the chain link fence is Chappell. Let's go. He's about to get some space here. Watch Fryklund open up with a couple. And now his right arm is in a better position to punch. There it is. Right hand landed by Fryklund, and another one. And there's a headbutt landed by Fryklund. And I'll tell you, right now, Chappell showing a lot of guts down there.
Well, Chappell's
Stop.
Yeah!
And that is it. Oh, no.
That's it. Hey.
Oh, no. A couple of late moves, and that will not bode well for the UFC. A late foot and a late punch.
I talked to him.
And that is just unacceptable behavior in a competition very high on valor and honor. And John McCarthy has stormed into the octagon to get in the face of Anthony Fryklund to tell him that will not be tolerated.
Well, certainly when a person breaks, taps out, well, this is the first time I have seen that a person has thrown a punch after a tap out. Now, whether he knew he was tapped out or not, I am not sure. But he certainly should have known.
And the boos from the crowd, not only because Fryklund is the invader from the east, but because of the late blows.
45 seconds, Anthony Fryklund.
The official time, 1:35, and Fryklund wins, but the extracurricular activity did not sit well with this crowd or with referee John McCarthy or alternate ref Joe Hamilton.
Well, without a doubt, it was late, and that was his first time in the octagon. He was probably pumped up. I'm not sure why that punch was thrown. And certainly, Michael DiPasquale, his manager trainer, is giving him a little lecture himself right now, letting him know, hey, you've got to have control 100% of the time.
And it's a shame because it was a great performance by Fryklund to that point, Jeff.
And once again, we see a kick aimed above the waist, resulting in a quick takedown by a grappler. Anthony Fryklund there immediately taking Donnie Chappell down, and then once he got him down, he started with the strikes. Here he clears his right hand by bringing the left hand over to take that arm block away, and the right hand will come in. And once Chappell pulls Fryklund down close to him to keep him down, Fryklund then starts with the headbutting right here. In tight, no room to punch, and actually that was a chokehold by Fryklund, and right there, that last punch, and then stepping on him as he got off. Clearly, no respect shown, and McCarthy in the face of Fryklund.
And that is something you do not want to encounter as a fighter in the UFC, having that big guy looking into your eyes. And that is what happened to Fryklund. So, you know, a good performance, but a little bit of negativity. Joe Rogan standing by.
I'm back here with Anthony. Anthony, congratulations on your win. Tell us what happened at the end of that.
Basically, I just, my first time, no holds barred. I guess kind of didn't draw the line between competition and street fighting yet. So I'll do better next time. Try not to be a bad sport like that. I don't know what took over. Basically, like I said, I guess I just lost where it was reality and competition for a minute there, and I apologize to Donnie Chappell. He fought a great fight. I had no business treating him like that. He's a great fighter, and hopefully I'll advance, and you'll see me in the finals tonight.
Okay, well, congratulations on your victory, and it looked like you had the things well under control before that happened, so look forward to see you possibly if we need an alternate.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
And Joe is definitely prophetic because we did indeed need an alternate. Fryklund with the victory over Chappell. 1:35 seconds. You saw the late stuff that ensued, but it was a good performance, and I thought he acquitted himself well in the interview. So Fryklund now moves into the finals to meet Kevin Jackson, and I think we'll find out how good Kevin Jackson will do as far as taking a punch, because Fryklund likes to strike. Now, what about the other middleweights in the UFC that are kind of hanging around or doing their things in other places? Let's right now find out the top middleweights in and around the UFC. The top-ranked middleweight is Guy Mezger, who won the tournament in UFC 13. Mezger, who trains at the famed Lion's Den, can't wait for that contest, and there's a good chance that when he returns to the octagon, he'll be a full-blown heavyweight. Jerry Bolander, another fighter from the Lion's Den, has not competed since winning in UFC 12. He's been training and teaching, and fans will be glad to hear he's likely to come back in the near future. Ranked third among the middleweights is Mark Schultz, the Olympic gold medalist wrestler who fought in UFC 9, defeating veteran Gary Goodridge. Schultz retired from mixed match martial arts competition to concentrate on wrestling and coach at BYU. Fourth-ranked middleweight Enson Inoue is home in Japan after defeating Royce Alger in UFC 13. Inoue sustained a minor injury in that bout, which kept him from continuing in the tournament.
He's been fighting in Japan and is scheduled to return to the UFC this fall. 5th-ranked middleweight Yoshihiko Takahashi has been fighting on the Pancrase circuit in Japan, and he will return to the octagon, he says, when his schedule permits. So there's a look at some of the top middleweights in and around the UFC, and there should be some great bouts on the horizon. And tonight certainly will go a long way in seeing a future matchup. Jeff?
Well, without a doubt, I think Kevin Jackson is establishing himself here. Add to that, you know, Guy Metzger and Jerry Bolander, two proven veterans of the UFC, and I think you got a makeup of a great middleweight a stable of athletes.
And here's a look at the way our tournament has unfolded tonight. First, it was Joe Moreira with the unanimous decision, replaced because of a concussion by Anthony Fryklund. That's the top part of the draw. And on the bottom, Kevin Jackson with the submission and tap out at 1:29. So it's Jackson against Fryklund. It happens often in the UFC, an alternate summoned off the bench, the way Steve Jenham came off the bench to win UFC 3 in September of '94 in Charlotte, when he defeated Harold Howard at 1:27 for the title. So strange things can and will happen. Well, the UFC train rolls on. Anthony Fryklund and Kevin Jackson for the middleweight title tonight in our tournament. And Fryklund can punch. Now there's a look at Anthony Fryklund. I don't know if he knew he'd be here tonight in the finals, but he looked ready. A little extracurricular activity, but Fryklund certainly told us that he was disappointed with the way he handled it. Fryklund is confident that his sensei, Michael Di Pasquale, has readied him for the reality of the octagon.
I think a big part of this game relies on your nerves. It's mentally draining, waiting. The waiting game is a big thing. And watching the other fights, it's one of those things I don't even know if I'm going to be watching the fighters after I compete. But it's one of those things where you want to save as much energy as you can for your second fight.
So there's a look at Fryklund, who started kickboxing at age 11, actually has an associate's degree in criminal justice from Northeastern University.
Well, I was highly impressed with him in that first fight. I think he's bringing a lot of weapons to bear in here, and I think he's going to give Jackson a go.
The man that he will face has some impressive credentials. Kevin Jackson, Olympic gold medalist in 92 at 180.5 pounds or 82 kilos. Two-time world champion. Jackson says a key advantage for wrestlers is their superior conditioning.
It's part of the sport. He gets part of the fighting game. I've seen many guys submit just because they were tired in this sport. I don't see that occurring with the wrestlers, but I see it occurring with other fighters. So two fights is very difficult.
Well, he has studied jiu-jitsu submissions well enough to know how to avoid getting caught in a submission. Might even try a few of his own. He choked out John Lober to win an extreme battle, but basically he's a pure wrestler. Here's a look at the tail of the tape. Jackson 6 years, Fryklund senior, but he's in excellent condition. Jackson 13 pounds heavier. Coming in from Arizona, Fryklund from Rivervale, New Jersey. The UFC 14 Showdown middleweight tournament final. Anthony Fryklund, an alternate, against Kevin Jackson. One bout for the title. Bruce Buffer is standing by for the introduction of our finalists. Let's go up to Bruce.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will determine the champion of the UFC 14 middleweight tournament. Beginning with the fighter standing to my left. He's from Boston, Massachusetts. He fights out of the Yoshitsune Dojo in Rivervale, New Jersey. He holds a black belt in Shodokan Karate, American Karate, and Yoshitsune Jiu-Jitsu. With a record of 11-2-1 in amateur competition, he stands 5'10", weighs in at 186 pounds. Please welcome to the middleweight final, Anthony Pan Am Games champion for 1991 and 1995. He's a three-time national freestyle wrestling champion from Lansing, Michigan. Fighting out of Gilbert, Arizona, standing 5'10" and weighing in at 199 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Jackson!
Our first title bout of the night. This is for the championship in the middleweight tournament. Big John McCarthy will start.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
Jackson against Fryklund.
Well, the question will be is what can Fryklund do from his back?
Oh, what a quick move by Jackson.
Jackson's going to be able to
looking for a choke
situation here.
Looking for a quick choke is Jackson. Lost the grip, goes back in.
Look for him to do what he did in the last fight, start to throw punches to the back of the head.
He threw two, McCarthy's close by. Fryklund not in a good position, an unenviable spot on his stomach.
And I'm sure as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist, he's used to getting the takedown. Here against a wrestler, he was unable to do so. And I don't understand why he's fighting from his stomach. There's a tap, Jackson chokes him.
All, and Jackson has the title. 45 seconds. He made it look easy. Quickness and power. The much heralded Kevin Jackson.
And I'll tell you something, he had a heartbreak not making the 96 Olympic team. He got defeated by a young upstart who continues to beat him, but he's closed the gap with Duchess. And in here, I see him not being a wrestler, but being a cross trainer. He learned submission holds. He knew what to do when a person turned his back to him on the ground.
He says wrestlers can strike, choke, use arm bars, or can take fighters down and pound them out. He's got some Mark Coleman in him. Managed by Tony Holden, who has worked with Tommy Morrison for so many years, trained by Tim McCullen. And Kevin Jackson annexes the title at UFC 14. Boy, he's been on some kind of run, Jeff, winning his weight class in extreme fighting. And now coming over to the UFC and stamping himself as one of the best under 200 pounds in the world.
Well, there's some others out there that he's going to need to face, proven veterans of the UFC, but here Fryklund really didn't have a chance. He got close enough for Jackson to grab him. Jackson just immediately buried him onto the ground. And here's something I didn't understand. Fryklund turned his back, and Jackson went right away for the choke. And to his credit here, Fryklund was able to get his hands up to his neck and defend it. But I like what Jackson did here, stayed true to his discipline, getting the quick takedown, but then improving on his discipline. He learned submission holds, and he knew what to do and when to do it. And here, when an opponent turns your back, you're so vulnerable to a choke. Jackson knew it, and he worked really hard for it, and he stayed with it, eventually forcing Fryklund to tap out.
So 32-year-old Kevin Jackson has the title. Wrestling now with the Sunkissed Kids, the Olympic gold medalist has turned to the UFC, and he has turned on the crowd here in Birmingham. Here's Joe Rogan.
I'm here with Kevin Jackson. Kevin, congratulations on another dominating performance.
Thank you very much.
What are your thoughts now on that fight, and what are your thoughts about the future for Kevin Jackson in the UFC?
The fight was tough. I mean, these guys come out ready to fight, they're ready to roll, and I was up for the occasion. I'm interested in fighting the other champions that were lightweight champions in the UFC, as well as Zinoviev and some. Hopefully, I didn't get a chance to fight Joe Moreira, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist, and hopefully I can get it done with a couple of those guys. I mean, let's take it to the next level. I mean, we want to take it to the next level. American wrestler has come out and faced everybody, and we want to fight whoever's out there, and we want to fight the best.
Well, congratulations. You certainly brought a new and exciting element to the UFC light heavyweight division, and Art Davies here right now to present you with your medal.
Kevin, when you and I met the other day coming in off the plane, I told you you were even more impressive in person than you were on film. Tonight, you have made a very impressive UFC debut. And it's my pleasure on behalf of the Ultimate Fighting Alliance to add this medal tonight to your collection. Olympic gold and now UFC gold. Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Kevin, congratulations. A pleasure to have you here. A pleasure to have an athlete of your standing take part in the UFC. We look forward to seeing you here a good long time. Great work.
Thank you. I'd like to say thanks to Penny, my physical therapist, Doug and Joe, the rest of the guys at Tim's Dojo, and it's been a heck of an experience. Hopefully it's going to continue. I mean, let's take it to the next level. These guys out there that know they're the best and think they're the best. I mean, wrestlers are here to make a point, and let's get it on.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you heard from Bob Meyerowitz, the President and Chief Executive Officer of SCG Sports, and Arthur Davies, the Commissioner of the Ultimate Fighting Alliance. And there it is, Kevin Jackson walking off with another medal to his credit. And it's going to be interesting down the road to see him matched against some great under 200-pounders.
For that Yuri, Metzger, Bolander, well, Schultz is out of it at this point, but there is some great competition out there that has been in the octagon and shown what they're capable of doing. Kevin Jackson, a tremendous debut, showing great skill, great poise, and of course a well-conditioned physique to be able to go right in there and dominate his opponents. He now is in line to take on the veterans of the UFC.
And Jeff, essentially the torch has been passed from one wrestler to another as wrestlers continue to excel in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
I certainly think grapplers will, and let's take a look at that last fight again and you'll see why. The art of the takedown. Removing a striker from his feet immediately takes away their best weapons. And the best thing, even against another wrestler or jiu-jitsu or judo player, being in the top or the mount position is of an advantage, particularly when they're equal or each of them have some experience. And this is what Jackson was able to do. Even though he has never been in the UFC, his extreme training and studying reality fighting taught him that when an individual turns his back, one, as a wrestler, I can continue to control him, and two, there are options, such as this choke, which he continued to go after each time he had the opportunity, eventually sinking it, causing Fryklund to have to tap out. And this is what a wrestler brings in, is the ability to take the fight to the ground in a no-choice situation, and that's something that wrestlers have long known within their own discipline, and if they were to obviously, cross the discipline line and take on a different martial art. And the UFC has given the chance for wrestlers to go ahead and do that.
So Kevin Jackson with the impressive victory, and he does it in only 45 seconds as he becomes another in the long line of wrestlers to excel in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He's got all the tools, stamina, which you talked about, guts, quickness, and skills, Jeff.
Without a doubt, he's got technique and he's got tremendous power as well. At 200 pounds, he is filled out. He is full of energy. He can load up on the food, and it shows when he walks into the octagon. He's going to be active out there, and most particularly when he has an opportunity to take the legs out from his opponent, he's going right in there to do it, and he won't quit until that opponent falls to the ground.
And he is very strong for his weight division. You look at guys close to 200 pounds, and there aren't going to be many that are stronger than him.
Oh, without a doubt. In the middleweight class with the 200 weight limit, I don't think Kevin Jackson will be outpowered. There might be somebody who can bench press a little more weight than him, but that's in a fixed position. In the octagon, action continues to move. You got to be able to call on that power in all situations, and that's something a wrestler is also accustomed to doing on a daily basis. That's what the training regime requires.
Severin, Coleman, Fry, Couture, now Kevin Jackson. Wrestling has made a big impact on the UFC. Here's some thoughts on wrestlers in the Ultimate.
Wrestling hasn't got its fair due in sports for a long time. To me, it's the toughest, greatest sport out there. It's the ultimate martial arts, in my opinion. I've done it for 20 years, and I love that sport, but now I'm an ultimate fighter, and I feel this is the greatest sport in the world now, and I'm proud to be the UFC champ.
I think as wrestlers, I think we've always embraced it and realized that it is a sport, and it is seeing which discipline is superior to the other. And us being wrestlers at the world-class level feel that we are superior, not only technically but physically, because of some of the things that we've done on a competitive level.
There's so many people that buy into, you know, boxers are the best fighters, and, you know, kickboxers are the best fighters, and, you know, this, you know, karate, point karate, and all these spinning back kicks and stuff. And like you're saying, you know, I mean, wrestling isn't that flashy of a sport, but it's more practical and applicable to what's going on. It's closing the distance, it's getting in there in tight quarters and being able to control someone, and that's what wrestling is.
Well, Jeff Blatnick, as a guy who has been in and around the world of wrestling your whole life, I've got to admit that wrestlers are better athletes than I thought when you took me in a game of hoops in Casper, Wyoming. The guy can really shoot. And I'll tell you, Kevin Jackson said, we are athletes. People must understand that we're quality athletes.
Well, unfortunately, like I said earlier, wrestlers have long felt that they're the Rodney Dangerfield of the combative world, the martial arts world. And the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, is a forum in which they were able to express their talents and also their opinions about how they felt. And as Kevin Jackson said, and also Kerr, wrestlers have long known that it's practical to take a man down to the ground because I can control him. He has to carry my weight. And also, it's applicable. It's totally allowed in this kind of a scenario, a mixed martial art competition. And this is what I feel wrestlers have, this one discipline, the ability to take a person off the feet. In a fighting sense, it's not totally complete as a discipline. You have to learn submission, you have to learn strikes. But as a fundamental basis, wrestling right now is dominating the combative reality fighting world.
Our heavyweight tournament for tonight, and here is what has unfolded this evening. Mark Kerr, a winner over Moti Horenstein in 2:23. Ref stopped the contest. And Big Daniel Bobish in 2:11. Brian Johnston tapped out. McCarthy said his head was up against the chain link fence, and it was just curling into the fence, and there was nothing he could do but submit. Let's go back to Kerr's battle, Jeff, with Moti Horenstein, and a pretty good showing by Mark Kerr.
Well, he got the takedown right away. Johnston tried some knees of his own, which encouraged Kerr to do some big-time kneeing, but eventually Kerr would get on top and just hammer Horenstein into defeat. John McCarthy stopping that fight. It was clear that Kerr dominated.
And then Daniel Bobish with the win over Brian Johnston.
Johnston game on his feet. They traded punches, but once Johnston hit the ground, it was all Bobish. Bobish drove him into the fence, had a forearm across the throat, bending the head into the fence. Johnston tapped out.
So Mark Kerr and Daniel Bobish will square off in the heavyweight tournament final. There's a look at the two bruisers, and both are wrestlers, so that theme continues tonight. Mark Kerr will be the first man heading to the octagon. Part of Mark Coleman's Hammer House. He's Coleman's training partner for this UFC.
Let's go, baby.
He won a state championship in high school, an NCAA championship in college, and then the freestyle champion in 1994. Mark Kerr is confident that his acumen as a takedown artist and world-class grappler will be his secret to victory.
It's been most effective over and over again. If you look at a Don Fry, if you look at a Mark Coleman, a Dan Severn, you know, have had all tremendous success in the UFC. Their game plan really doesn't stray that much. Don Fry's probably the only one who's really had the you know, I don't know what you want to call it, but he stood up where he should have probably been on the ground, and he's paid the price for it. And I'm not out here to get, you know, to see how tough I am on my feet. I'm out here to win the contest.
Mark Kerr, 255 pounds officially, and some have said he's as low as 225, but I have been told that it is 255 for tonight's action.
I can guarantee you, Bruce, he's weighing 250 pounds. I've seen Mark Kerr when he was down at 100 kilos as an amateur wrestler trying out for an Olympic team. He finished second alternate. He was the first alternate for the team, and this man is put together right now. He has really built himself up.
And he always says, I want to fight smart. Here comes his opponent from Cleveland, Ohio, and he's 55 pounds bigger. Daniel Bobish, the NCAA wrestling champion, Division III at Mount Union College in Alliance, Ohio. First NCAA champion from that school. And although a newcomer to the UFC, Bobish feels his freestyle fights in Brazil will help.
Now, I think my fights in Brazil that I went to were more intense than the atmosphere it's going to have here. When you go to Brazil, you're sort of fear of your life. You want to say 6,000 screaming Brazilians and you're only 4 Americans there. And they're all around the ring. Here, it's my territory.
So we've got over a quarter ton in the octagon. Here's the tail of the tape, Bobish and Kerr. Bobish has the size, Kerr 2 years older. How will this one play out? We'll know in a couple moments.
Well, I'm sure Bobish has seen Kerr wrestle in college. So these two know each other.
Bruce Buffer is standing by to tell us about our heavyweights.
Ladies and gentlemen, the UFC is truly international. We are pleased to have with us, all the way from the Republic of Kazakhstan, Mr. Bulat Bergaliev. We hope to someday take the UFC to Kazakhstan. Please welcome Mr. Bulat Bergaliev. And with him, the chairman of SCG Sports, Mr. Robert Meyerowitz. And now, this is the event that will determine the winner of the heavyweight tournament. Beginning with the fighter standing to my left. He's the winner of the 1994 World Cup Wrestling Champion. He's the winner of the men's freestyle national title and NCAA Division I champion. He stands 6 feet, 1 inch tall and weighs in at 255 pounds. Fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mark Kerr. And his opponent, a 3-time All-American wrestler, a 1992 National Wrestling Champion, a shoot fighter fighting under the Bart Vale organization, standing 6'1" and weighing in at 310 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, from Cleveland, Ohio, Daniel Bobish.
Heavyweight tournament final, UFC 14 Showdown, Bobish and Kerr. McCarthy will start.
Oh, the heavyweight championship.
Big question here is, can Kerr get a takedown without absorbing any attrition from Bobish's big punches?
A kick by Kerr.
And Kerr's measuring him. He's waiting for Bobish to rush him too quick, and he'll take a double. Those were some heavy kicks. Bobish in pretty good counter here, but Kerr, the superior grappler, gets the takedown.
He's got that single leg and he's working it. A knee to the head of Bobish.
Conditioning can be a huge factor here. Bobish designed more for sprint. He was a Cleveland Brown tryout cut from their final camp, but certainly was in the running towards being an NFL athlete.
And Bobish on his back momentarily realized he was in trouble, turned back.
Well, he's still in trouble. Kerr's not going to let him off his back. Kerr will keep him down.
Kerr in a side mount. Bobish chopping away at Kerr's head.
Work your way out.
Kerr talks about smarts. Let's see if he employs it here. He said, I want to fight smart. I want to be able to defend myself or finish someone from any position.
Well, he's going to take his time. We saw this with Randy Couture in the last UFC. He's just going to wait it out, let the big man struggle, resist. And one thing about Bobish, as a wrestler, he doesn't like being on his back. It's instinctive not to be there.
Kerr showing good movement.
He jumped across to get more freedom of movement. Bobish readjusts, he's tapping out.
That's it. Now we've got a champion in Mark Kerr.
Stay right there. Stay right there, man. I understand. Stay right
A minute 38 to tap out.
Doctor coming in. Stay right there, man.
Bobish is shaken up. Kerr gets the title. In his first UFC, Mark Kerr, the NCAA Division I champion at Syracuse, where he beat Randy Couture in the final. Couture at Oklahoma State at the time. And Couture the champion, and right now the attention being given to Daniel Bobish. And the crack medical staff, Dr. Richard Istrigo, Dr. Stephen Goodman, attending to big Daniel Bobish.
He's up. There appears to be a problem around his left eye.
We have the winner of the heavyweight tournament. His name is Mark Kerr.
So Mark Kerr in 1:38, the tap out, and there's Bobish. He's squinting around that eye area, but he comes over before he left the octagon to congratulate his opponent.
You put that in my eye too?
Whoa, look at Kerr flexing.
Mark Kerr is a monster. He has really physically developed into a solid 250-pounder with a wide range of skills, and he continues to be eager to learn.
Thanks, sorry.
He will be a threat at this heavyweight weight class.
And he said that his interest in freestyle martial arts began when he met Dan Severn. The two worked out together. And then he had a relationship with Mark Coleman, who he wrestled in high school and college, so he's been around some good ones. Jeff will look back.
Well, it was a double leg shot by Kerr, and Bobish, to his credit, did a pretty good job of countering, but Kerr, once he gets his hands on the leg, his technique and power came to bear. He circled off balancing Bobish, bringing him down. Once he got him on the ground, he looked for the mount. There in the middle there, he was sort of basing out, getting a feel, letting Bobish try to swing some wild punches that really weren't going to be any effective. And he was all this time calculating when to take a full mount, which he will eventually do here. He tried to cross over to get more room to move because the fence was limiting him. Then he went to the full mount. And here he's just smothering Bobish, covering up tight over the face, trying to smother him. Bobish tapped out.
And Mark Kerr raises his arm in victory. An absolute monster, brutally powerful, world-class skills, and a smart approach.
And certainly willing to learn. Very unlike most wrestlers who have entered this, they stick with their discipline. Kerr looks to expand his skills.
Joe Rogan getting in position to talk to Mark Kerr. And we'll be checking with Joe shortly. So Kerr gives wrestling its second champion of the night. And Kerr has said that the top wrestlers are unbelievable athletes. They may not be better fighters than some of their opponents, but they are better athletes. Back to what we talked about earlier. Okay, Joe Rogan is in position. Let's go up to Joe.
Here with Mark Kerr. Mark, congratulations. A very impressive performance. Dominating victory and an unusual strategy. The world-class wrestler comes out kicking.
Yeah, I thought that I was going to have to do something for him that's a little unexpected. He's a big, powerful man, and I really hasn't to get a hold of him, but it worked out well.
It worked out fantastic. You train with Mark Coleman. What are your thoughts about, would you ever possibly meet him in the octagon?
Well, right now it's not even a thought. I'm getting my feet wet in here, and I'm just taking it one step at a time, and we'll see how things develop. We'll see what other fighters come out, and we'll go from there.
Well, congratulations. I know everybody's excited to see you again in the future.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is the only organization in the world to be fighting for right now.
Well, congratulations, and here's Art Davey with your medal ceremony.
Mark, you took Brazil by storm already, and tonight you burst onto the world stage with this impressive victory here at this UFC tournament. I know you're going to have a long and glorious career. On behalf of the UFA, I'm pleased to present you with this medal commemorating your great victory tonight. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you, Art. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mark, you're just part of the great athletes that are coming into the UFC, and you are great athletes. It's a pleasure to have. You are the future of this great sport. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I appreciate it. Like I said, first class. First class. Yep.
Well, you're first class. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let me see your medal.
The UFC has been controversial, but beyond dispute, it's the forum the UFC has given to world-class wrestlers to show their stuff, popularize their sport, and earn some cash, Jeff.
Well, without a doubt, it has afforded many people to have another way of making a living from the wrestling world. Up to now, it's only been professional wrestling, which is not skill-based, but more promoter-based, based on your look or your talk or your gimmick. But this is a great outlet for wrestling if they choose to want to fight. And this is something which a lot of wrestlers feel they're capable of doing simply because they don't have to make it a war of attrition on the feet, hitting each other. They can bring it down to the ground and end it there, which is really the environment they're most comfortable in.
Not easy grabbing a tree trunk of a guy like Bobish, who's 315, is it?
Well, if you really watch that, he grabs the leg then becomes isolated, and he moves around the leg, changing the balance, which immediately takes Bobish down. That's that circular action that you learn in wrestling, really a result of thousands of hours of training, learning technique.
Right now, a closer look at the ranked guys in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. In the heavyweight division, the current champion is Mark the Hammer Coleman. He's undefeated in the octagon, an Olympic wrestler with a fierce will to win and a devastating punch. Coleman meets Maurice Smith in tonight's main event. Mark hopes to ground and pound his way to another victory in tonight's title fight against this worthy challenger. Ranked number 1 among heavyweights is two-time UFC champion Don the Predator Fry. His return to the octagon has been delayed because of a broken hand suffered in Ultimate 96. He's been on the pro wrestling circuit in Japan and is due back in the octagon in January. Ranked number 2 among heavyweights is jiu-jitsu phenom Vitor Belfort. In May, the Brazilian brawled his way to prominence by defeating David Tank Abbott in a stunning 53 seconds. Belfort has stopped teaching to concentrate on training full-time. He plans to return to the octagon this October in a title elimination bout and has his sights set on Coleman. The number 3 ranked heavyweight is Marco Ruas, who made his octagon debut in UFC 7. Ruas is kept busy fighting in Brazil, but says he's eager to come back to the octagon. He's moved to California and is negotiating with the UFC. Fans of Ruas, nicknamed the King of the Streets, may see him back in the octagon soon. Maurice Smith is ranked 4th in the world of the mixed martial arts competition. But a win over UFC champion Mark Coleman in tonight's main event would hurl Smith to the top of the rankings. Smith, who won the Extreme Fighting heavyweight title in an upset knockout of Conan Silveira, has been busy fighting in Japan. 5th-ranked Dan the Beast Severn just won the International Vale Tudo tournament in Sao Paulo, Brazil on July 6th. Severn, who's been on the pro wrestling circuit, has been mentioned as a possible opponent for Vitor Belfort in October. No deal's been struck, but the Beast has definitely decided to be back in the octagon. We've got one fight left tonight in Birmingham, Alabama, the Magic City. We're at the Boutwell Municipal Auditorium, which opened in 1924, and it's Maurice Smith and Mark Coleman for the heavyweight championship belt that Mark Coleman currently owns. There is the challenger, Maurice Smith. He's never lost a championship fight. His discipline is kickboxing, also Muay Thai. He's going in there with a guy who has superior grappling skills. But Maurice has feet that are not only fast, but pack thunder in them. Maurice Smith getting set for tonight's battle with Coleman.
He doesn't know how to punch. He punches like a girl, okay? He may punch hard, but it's not like the solid punch. It's just more like scratch and hit me. It's not a punch for me. I mean, he'll see his interview, he'll get mad, but later on he'll know that I'm right and he'll change his punching style because it's not going to hurt me. It may bruise me, but it ain't going to hurt me. Watch when I hit him. Watch the difference. You see a boxer's punch, you see a wrestler's punch. There's a big difference.
Wow, some strong words from Maurice.
Well, I'm not going to say Mark Coleman punches like a girl, but without a doubt, a puncher does not throw, a wrestler does not throw a punch as well as a boxer. That's boxing's thing. Wrestling's thing is takedown. But I'll tell you what, once he gets you down, he doesn't have to have great technique with punching. All he's got to do is land them.
Maurice is a strategist. The question is, will that translate to a W in the octagon?
Great kickboxer, master striker, both hands and feet, and from the clips you've seen, he's tremendous with that right hand and also that right leg if he's able to get it up high and catch your head. He has some knowledge of the ground, but he is on the feet fighter. He wants to keep it standing.
Well, his opponent is poised with the belts and ready to make his move back to the octagon. Undefeated in the UFC, 6-0, with 2 championships and a heavyweight belt. The Hammer, Mark Coleman, the most ferocious competitor in the history of the UFC. 1988 NCAA champion, 2-time Pan Am Games gold medalist, World Cup silver medalist, 2-time World Team Trial champion. He was on the 92 Olympic team in Barcelona. Let's get some words from Mark Coleman as he defends his title in Birmingham.
He can only punch or kick a person that's standing still. I don't plan on standing still. I can shoot from a lot further out than he can kick or throw a punch. That's the key in this sport. It's a grappler's game because we can take a person down from a lot further out than they can stand there and punch us. So he has to learn how to wrestle, and I've learned how to take a boxer kicker down.
Coleman told us earlier today he took those comments by Maurice Smith personally, and tonight it's personal.
Well, he comes from a strong wrestling background. He's one of the elite wrestlers in the United States, 92 Olympian, excellent at takedowns. He'll trade a small punch to get in on your legs. Once he gets you down, he'll rain big punches. They might be hitting like a girl, but for some reason they take people out.
So it's the best mixed martial artist on the planet against perhaps the finest heavyweight kickboxer in the world. Here's the tale of the tape. Maurice Smith is older, but he's in marvelous condition. Coleman, 25 pounds heavier. Seattle, Washington, the home of Maurice Smith, and Mark Coleman hailing for Columbus, Ohio. Bruce Buffer with the introduction of our big bout of the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. This is the showdown for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world. Standing to my left, from Seattle, Washington, the 1996 ISKA Kickboxing Champion of the world, the former WKA Kickboxing and Muay Thai Heavyweight Champion of the world, and the final Extreme Fighting Heavyweight Champion of the world, standing 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighing 220 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Maurice Smith. And his opponent, a member of the 1992 Olympic wrestling team, a 2-time Pan Am Games gold medalist, a World Cup silver medalist, a 2-time freestyle champion, fighting out of Columbus, Ohio, standing 6'1" and weighing 245 pounds. He is the reigning UFC Heavyweight Champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mark the Hammer Coleman.
Showman in a showdown. Let the battle commence.
Here we go, baby. This is what you came for. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
There's been some mind game going on here. Coleman taking a lap right in front of Maurice Smith, eyeing him down, moving forward, staring contest, but now it comes down to skill.
And this is where Smith can be dangerous with his kicks.
Coleman said he was going to come straight across the ring. He's now standing off, measuring distance. This favors the striker here.
There goes Coleman, double leg. Headbutts. Right hands by Coleman. Big right hands by Coleman. Can Smith use his quickness?
Smith is in a world of hurt here. He's trying to get his legs up so he can try to push and get distance from Coleman. Coleman keeping him tight. He had a bunch of punches come down there. I'm not sure any of them were super solid, but they all seem to be landing. But now he's slowing it down. He'll start to measure Maurice Smith now and try to gauge distance or clear an arm so he can get a strike in.
And this is where Coleman was essentially born on the mat. He's in his comfort zone here. Smith would have hoped to have gotten off a big kick or a big punch in that early exchange. Coleman just missing with the right hand. And here's where Coleman can use his weight advantage.
Without a doubt. Right now, Smith is not carrying his weight. Now he is. When Coleman comes up on his toes and gets high, like Joe Moreira did, where his belly is literally up by Smith's nose, as opposed to down by his midsection, that's when you're in the full mount. Right now, Coleman is in the guard.
What should Maurice Smith be looking to do from here?
Right now, he's playing the patient game, just what you should in a guard. Wait till you have a position where you can use your feet to push Coleman away or elevate him like that. But when you do that, you allow the wrestler an opportunity to perhaps pass the guard. But Smith able to get his leg back out there. Coleman still finds himself trapped in the guard.
Couple of right hands landed by Smith to the back of Coleman's head. Not much on it from that position, though.
And a lot of composure by Maurice Smith on his back. Striker on his back, not panicking, not getting frustrated, staying cool, calm, and collected, waiting for his opportunity. That's exactly what you need to do in the guard.
Coleman continuing to work. He's only been in 2 battles that went over 5 minutes. One against Gary Goodrich, 7 minutes. One against Don Fry, 11:36. Everything else was fairly quick. Severn under 3 minutes. Horenstein under 3. Brian Johnston, Julian Sanchez under 3.
A reverse choke. That was interesting. Coleman tried to pull Smith's chin into Smith's chest, literally compressing the neck forward. The exact opposite you'd think you'd see a choke, and Smith really worked hard to get out of it.
3 minutes in, and it's still Mark Coleman on top of Maurice Smith.
Well, Coleman's got one leg out of the guard. Smith now working hard to try to get it back in there, and he succeeds. You wonder if that big burst in the beginning by Coleman sort of drained him a little bit, sort of punched himself out, and right now he's just trying to collect himself, feel good, get control of his body, and then we'll see the assault again.
I think that the early storm was weathered by Maurice Smith.
Oh, without a doubt. Smith is still in this fight. Coleman is where he wants to be, but he's not been able to pass the guard. He hasn't gotten out to the side, cleared it, and gotten to the mount yet. He's more interested in punching Maurice Smith's head. Here he is, he's got one leg out again.
4 minutes in. Coleman working on that left wrist, then giving it up. Possible headbutt here. He's in position for a headbutt, but Smith using that left hand to ward him off a bit.
Well, ground and pound isn't coming true right now. It's ground and doing a lot of thinking, a lot of tactic here. Some nice elbows by Maurice Smith.
Some big right elbows by Maurice. And look at Maurice squirm. Look for openings, and he lands an elbow.
That's what you need to be in the guard. A lot of people think it's laying there hanging tight, but the guard can be an active position where you move around, forcing the top man to follow, and that becomes predictable. Does Maurice Smith
a side mount move.
Have a bag of tricks waiting for Coleman here with some submissions, but he turned his back on Coleman.
You can't
He's
do
going to
that.
get choked.
He's going for the choke. He's sinking it in there.
Nothing yet.
Smith, look at him. He's showing great patience. That's what you got to do.
The forearm's not in. He stayed enough on his back that the forearm couldn't sink, but he's in the mount now, and Coleman's going to throw punches. Coleman is going to be tough to get out of this position. He's got the legs sunk in. All he'll do is flatten out, wait out the storm, and then remount and re-punch.
1, 2, 3, bridge!
Well, you saw Maurice Smith not panic. We saw that from Royce Gracie in the early UFCs. When you're in a position where you're kind of being choked, you just breathe deeply and you don't panic. It's hard to do, but you got to do it.
Well, the big thing is just don't panic. If you make it a frustrating situation in your mind, your body reacts accordingly. Smith, I am going to give credit to. He brought a lot more into this fight than he let on. He is well versed in the guard. Even when he's in the mounted position, he is tough to hit.
He has worked with the Shamrock at the Lion's Den, but right now he's got to handle some big punches from Mark Coleman. There are a lot of right hands, a plethora of rights.
And you can see what Maurice Smith is doing. He's bucking his hips up, forcing Coleman forward onto his hands. And when your hands are down, you can't punch. Once again, he tries to turn, but he's going to present his back to Coleman. He's not going to shake Coleman here. A wrestler won't get beat in a wrestler's game.
Work it out.
Particularly this guy.
And you can't make up for it in a short time.
Well, Smith is comfortable here on his base. Coleman's leg is in. If that leg was out, he'd be going for the choke.
Work it out.
Right now, he doesn't want to lean over the top. It's what we call getting high in the sport of
There's
wrestling.
Smith trying to reverse. Ends up on his back.
Well, he knew better. He had to go to his back, otherwise he'd give Coleman a good shot at moving up on the head and striking it or going for the choke again.
Coleman back in the side mount. And he's really having to work here, over 7 minutes in.
We're not even to the halfway point yet.
That's right, this about 15 minutes with 2 3-minute overtimes if needed.
Keep it working.
And Smith doing a marvelous job with that left hand, warding off potential bombs from Coleman.
And the crowd getting behind Smith right now.
And they're chanting Maurice. Coleman still working on top of Maurice Smith. This is for the UFC Heavyweight Championship.
Doing a great job. He's got his legs crisscrossed and hooked, keeping Coleman's one leg in the guard, which prevents Coleman from getting to the mount and being able to create some space and throw punches. Smith is well versed in the guard. I am truly amazed. This athlete knows some good jiu-jitsu here.
Over 8 minutes in. It's been the same story with Coleman on top, trying to get to the full mount position, hasn't been able to. Smith still hooking that one right leg of Coleman's. And he's strong. Those legs, they've been through some wars. He's one of the best kickers in the world.
Coleman now looking to get his leg out. He freed it up, but he wasn't able to pass the guard yet.
How much energy is it taking out of Smith to use this defensive posture?
I think it's taking a lot of energy out of Coleman, too. He's constantly using his arms to push and his toes to drive. And he's not really getting compensated by any kind of success, except when he got to that mounted position, was able to throw punches straight down. Smith, to his credit, doing a pretty good job. Now Coleman's looking for that headlock, same one he caught Severn with. He'll try to get his left leg out, sit to the side.
Smith gets behind him and gets up. And Smith is back on his feet where he wants to be.
And Coleman is tired. He's now a target.
Smith can punch or kick here. He's got to try to capitalize on his feet.
Oh, he just missed. It's a foul.
And a foul is called because Coleman was on the ground. If you're in anywhere near all fours, that's 1 warning, 3 warnings. It's a disqualification, but it was close.
It was.
It wasn't intentional, I don't believe.
Coleman was trying to get up. It wasn't as though he was stuck on the ground.
Coleman is okay.
You ready?
He did catch one,
You
but Coleman
ready?
is tired. Hands on the knees, breathing hard. He's going to have to call on all of that will.
Smith exudes confidence right now. This is his game with the kicking. And Coleman's tired.
He wants to bend over some more. Coleman really wants to bend over some more. I can't believe he's this tired. Those kicks will take their toll.
I don't know if Coleman's got the energy right now to go and shoot again for a single or double leg.
It certainly looks as though he's winded, whether he was punched out or...
Got one back. Played possum a little bit.
I don't think that's possum. He really did reach for his knees. Smith doing a wonderful job of defense. Coleman being very aggressive, constantly chasing him. Wasted some energy without any real beneficial return.
Elbows by Smith.
I have to say right now, Smith is closing the gap. He is striking well.
Elbow again by Maurice Smith.
It's really the lack of activity by Coleman right now that's costing him.
Back in the side position, the side mount. Tell you, Coleman had to reach deep down to make that last move, didn't he?
He certainly did, but it was aided by the fact Smith threw a kick above the waist, and as we have said over and over again, that has not been an effective tactic, even with being a great kickboxer in the octagon. Against the grappler, they'll seize that leg and take you right down, and that's what Coleman did despite the fatigue. 11 minutes, 15 seconds gone.
To the stomach goes Maurice Smith. 15-minute time limit, 2 3-minute overtimes in this UFC heavyweight title bout.
Keep working, gentlemen.
And Maurice Smith, I think, Jeff, just missed by inches a huge kick, which had possible knockout written on it.
Oh, I'm sure he was looking. He might have wanted to soften Coleman up some more, use those jabs, maybe a right hand, and hit him, and then come in with the kick when Coleman's worried about the hands. But Coleman was able to take Smith down again, but he hasn't done anything since they've landed on the ground here. He's trying to survive. He's trying to weather fatigue. If he's not careful, McCarthy can move this back to the feet unless Coleman shows he's moving up and staying active.
This one a war of attrition.
This is a championship fight. The clash of styles is proving to be really an even affair now. Smith, despite being on his back, is able to defend himself well. Coleman unable to get any big power punches in. And at the same time, after that Smith escape, nearly tried to get it there again. It has really been Smith since then, whether striking on the ground or on the feet with kicks and punches.
Coleman almost got too high there. Possible reversal for Maurice Smith.
He's looking to choke again there. Again, tucking Smith's chin to his chest.
He didn't miss by much.
You can see Smith start to throw multiple knees to the back, anything to try to knock him out of that hold. So it was effective, but all those big squeezing bursts that Coleman's using is draining him of his energy.
These guys have such wills to win. You can see it in both the offensive and defensive posture.
From a strategy point of view, Smith only has to hold tight and weather out another minute, 40, and then he gets another crack on his feet.
Right.
That went for 3 minutes, and he gets another crack on his feet. So he doesn't need to panic. Coleman should try to get some attrition in here, because he is going to wind up on his feet in about 1 minute 30 seconds unless he can end it.
Like UFC 7 at Buffalo between Huas and Vaulin, which went 13-17, and UFC 6 in Casper, Tektara beating Abbott in 17-47. This championship bout is going for some time. Coleman has never lost in the octagon. Maurice Smith has never lost a championship bout.
Keep it up, you got 1 minute, let's go.
And neither guy showing any signs of surrender right now. Coming up on 1 minute to go in regulation.
An interesting ploy. He's actually trying to choke Mark Coleman by covering his mouth and not letting him breathe. And it's an effective tactic. It's an effective tactic.
There's the reversal by Maurice Smith.
Watch for big punches. Watch for big punches.
And back to the feet they go. That's where Maurice wants to be with 35 seconds left in regulation. Coleman looks a little tired again.
Oh, oh, wow, he's willing to turn his back.
A kick by Smith. Coleman defended it fairly well.
Two tired champions here. A great fight. The grappler unable to take out the striker on the ground, and they're now back on the feet. Can Coleman weather being on the feet against a master striker? That's the big question.
Left hand by Maurice Smith.
Nice jab. Good jab. You should do more of that. Force Coleman into committing.
He's got to throw punches here. There's the horn ending regulation. And it looks like Coleman that is more the guy who's fatigued. Now we know about Maurice Smith's conditioning. He's talked about it at least. At 35, he's a marvelously conditioned athlete.
6 more minutes.
That's a long time.
6 minutes is an eternity when you're exhausted.
Lower your levels, you got to suck it up. Lower your levels, straight
And Maurice Smith looks fresh comparatively.
Well, Maurice Smith's game plan is holding intact. The longer conditioning plays a factor. It is now working for Maurice Smith. And with the 2 starts coming at the start of both overtimes, he's going to get the opportunity to punch a kick from his feet.
There's Jackson in Coleman's corner. And the other corner with Maurice Smith was Frank Shamrock, who was practically on top of the octagon fence, imploring his fighter to go on and go do it. Big mouse under Coleman's left eye as we begin our first of 2 overtimes.
Striking on the feet goes to Maurice Smith. Striking on the ground still to Mark Coleman. Aggressiveness, Coleman early, but it's now Maurice Smith. This is going to be a tough fight for the judges. Plenty of time, though, to end this. Can Smith get that big blow in? He's doing a good job of kicking.
Can he land that big axe kick or go upstairs and nail Coleman?
Coleman's looking at the clock. That's not a good sign.
Coleman wanted to shoot, didn't have the energy. Smith was quick. Again, Maurice is so quick now with his legs. He's backing up after missing. He wants him.
And it's working for Maurice Smith now.
And now he can try to chop him down the way Huas did to Vaulin if he connects with enough blows to Coleman's legs.
Each punch he's landing now is winning him points on the feet striking and also with aggression. He could turn this around and take it away from Coleman. It's that close.
Can Coleman shoot again? Is he waiting for his spot for an explosion? Smith again, a kick, down low. That'll swell up the legs pretty good.
I'm worried that he could have hit Coleman's knee there. Coleman's legs are planted. He could hit that joint while there's weight on it.
Another jab by Maurice, not much doing. Minute 25 into this first 3-minute overtime.
And Mark Coleman has to put his hands on his knee.
Combination.
He's that tired. He is that tired.
He looked up at the clock again. That's like tugging on your shorts in basketball. Again, a kick by Maurice Smith.
There's nothing welting up. There is one bruise on the back of Coleman's right leg, right hamstring.
Maurice needs to go up a little higher with those kicks. Maurice Smith taunting Coleman a bit. Coleman wants no part right now. He shoots and misses, and Maurice cannot kick him when he's down, and he backed off that time.
Smith unable to throw punches of his own. He's got to be feeling some fatigue, too. He hasn't put together any combinations yet.
A right hand by Maurice Smith and a combination. There's the kick to the head.
And he is now ahead. He is probably going to be ahead on the judges' card. He's taking it to Coleman, and Coleman's too tired to answer.
Coleman looking at the clock. 35 seconds left in our first OT.
And Smith is looking him right in the eye. He's crouching down to look Coleman in the eye. This has grown to a battle of wills now.
That one almost chopped him.
And it seems as though Smith's will is dominating.
And his endurance is spectacular. And he's mixing it up between punches and kicks.
Coleman's going to have another 3 minutes of this. He's got to come out and establish a takedown. Get Smith down. I don't know why Smith's backing out. I know why Smith doesn't want to get close enough for Coleman to grab him. With the fence there, Coleman can push off.
First overtime is over. We've got another 3-minute overtime. Frank Shamrock hanging over the top of the octagon. He's got a fresh Maurice Smith. Mark Coleman quietly goes back to his side. And this crowd is riveting with this action.
This has been one of the best fights ever. A striker is holding his own. He has learned enough of the guard to hold up an inexperienced and only a wrestling discipline-minded athlete. He could cover up, avoided all those big punches early, and it appears that Coleman has punched himself out. He seems exhausted.
It's all
absolutely exhausted.
It's all about heart now. 3 minutes, 2 champions, 1 showdown. The UFC Heavyweight Championship on the line.
Can Coleman find the energy, or will Maurice Smith pull one of the biggest upsets in UFC history?
Another kick by Maurice.
And his confidence is growing.
Well, he's been very confident since late in the regulation.
Coleman has basically been backing up here.
Oh, another kick by Smith.
And those now are leaving marks all over Coleman's legs. Oh!
Smith just missed, and Coleman unable to capitalize.
Coleman cannot even move forward. He has to bend over yet again.
It's all endurance now, and Maurice Smith has it. 2:30 left.
It's also about skill, and Maurice Smith is still able to execute properly. Even when he misses, he's got the quickness and the conditioning to get up before Coleman reacts.
A kick, Coleman now welting up underneath the left eye.
That's probably from that jab, which Smith really isn't using anymore. That's an effective punch. Get Coleman thinking upstairs, use your legs then afterwards.
There he is. He comes in and uses that kick like a jab in boxing.
It's a wonderful weapon, and these legs are already drained of energy. Taking that kind of punishment is going to limit their range even more.
Coleman's legs are red. They are welting up pretty good.
And Smith's glove has come undone. He's going to need tabs to get that taped up. We're going to see Leon tabs to the ring here momentarily. No, good enough.
Get rid of that wet tape.
That's a break for Coleman. That's a huge break for Coleman.
Can Coleman reach down deep here? Can he?
He just hasn't been able to put anything together here in the last 5 minutes. It has been all Maurice Smith.
Maurice Smith looking for a monumental upset. We've lost some lights overhead. McCarthy says, let's fight on. Heck with the dark. This is about for a title.
You want out?
Coleman actually didn't want to fight.
Smith with another kick. A little over 1:15 to go. It's been all Maurice Smith since late in the regulation. And there's a jab followed by a low right kick.
That's what he's got to put together. Those kinds of combinations Mark Coleman has never seen. He has had no one come after him in this way ever in his training.
Inside a minute to go in the UFC Heavyweight title bout. Maurice Smith looking for a huge upset. 3 judges will score it.
We're down to 45 seconds.
There will not be a draw. Coleman got nailed.
I think unless Coleman's able to do something drastic here, this decision may go to Smith.
I think he's had the aggressiveness in the last 8 minutes.
He's controlled the second half of the fight in terms of aggressiveness, and his punching skill on his feet has been more dominant than Coleman in the guard.
20 seconds to go in our second overtime. Coleman reaching down. We've lost some more lights, but it doesn't matter to Smith. He'll fight in the dark. He'll fight in an alley. Another kick scored by Maurice Smith.
And Smith now really measuring Coleman. He hasn't been able to throw the big bomb.
And there's the horn ending this heavyweight title bout. Wow. It goes to the 3 judges. They must vote one way or another, no draws.
And this lived up to its billing. Champion striker against champion grappler, and it is so close. The grappler dominating early with a takedown and a mounted position. The striker coming back, showing great heart, great conditioning, and great punching and kicking skill from the feet.
It's almost something out of a movie with the lights
most incredible
almost
fight.
all out in the arena. And great guts shown by both competitors in what was truly a war.
And this because Coleman was totally inactive that last 6, 7, 8 minutes.
Maurice Smith thinks he's got the win.
And this could cost Coleman. Smith definitely being the aggressor at the end, I think it's going to influence the judges with aggression. Maurice Smith, a phenomenal performance in the octagon.
On a night where two wrestlers captured the two tournaments, is it a striker that wins the big one? We're waiting for Bruce Buffer and the announcement of the winner. Let's go up to the octagon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. We have a unanimous decision with the winner and new UFC Heavyweight Champion of the World, Maurice
Smith. 17 years in fight competition, and Maurice is the champion.
Coleman.
He's never lost a championship bout. Joe Rogan standing by with Maurice Smith.
Maurice, hold up, right here.
Go, Joe. All right,
Maurice, congratulations on an unbelievable upset, perhaps the greatest upset in UFC history. You came into this fight, you told everybody how it was going to be, you said you were going to take your time, you were going to wait it out. In the end, you'd be on your feet and he would be running away from you, and you pulled it off. Unbelievable. How you feeling now?
I feel good. Like I said, hold on. Like I said, he has to adjust to my game as far as stand-up. I had to learn his game. And like he actually said earlier, after learning wrestling, I learned some wrestling. I want to say thank you, everybody, to my best friend here, Frank Shamrock, Pete, Vernon, Jerry, Bob, Robert, Mike, Lonnie, Roman, all the guys back at home. Thanks a lot.
Tell us your opinion of the kick. When you landed the kick to Mark's head and the referee came in and stepped in, was he down or was he up?
I couldn't tell. Maybe it was down, so he gave me the penalty, so c'est la vie. That's the way it goes. I thought he was up, but I couldn't see if his knees were down. But he fought a hell of a fight, and we'll do it again. I'm sure we'll fight again, and next time he'll be better on his feet, I'm sure.
Unbelievable, incredible victory, and Art Davies here to present you with your new belt.
Okay.
Maurice, you and I have been trying to get it together since UFC 6. I can only say it is a real privilege and a pleasure to have you as the new champion. Congratulations, Maurice. May you have a long reign.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Keo, all the students back home, we're bringing it home. You guys get in class Monday, though. I'll be in late. You better be in class.
Maurice.
Congratulations. And I want to personally thank Lions Den. Where's Frank at? My trainer. You did a good job, Frank.
Back to Bruce. Congratulations.
Maurice Smith is the new Ultimate Fighting Championship, Heavyweight Championship. The heavyweight champion in a monumental upset. Jeff Blatnick, what a night. We've enjoyed it.
No doubt about it. The striker beats the grappler. It's the first time at the UFC that has really happened. Elite against elite. Grappler's going to have to regroup and come back, but Maurice Smith, the new champion.
So for Jeff Blatnick and Joe Rogan, I'm Bruce Beck saying good night from Birmingham, Alabama, where Maurice Smith has taken the title from Mark Coleman. The striker beats the grappler in the UFC's version of Showdown. Good night, everybody.